Chapter 49:15. In the Void Realm, witchcraft was a symbol of power and mystery. In the entire southern barbarian region, witchcraft prevailed. The previous ruler of southern barbarian was the Shaman King. After the Shaman King was defeated by the current barbarian king, the entire southern barbarian region changed masters. However, although the Shaman King was defeated, the strength of the witch tribe was still there. Although the current barbarian king was incomparably powerful, he was still wary of the power of the witch tribe. Although the witch tribe surrendered to the barbarian king, they were always thinking about how to regain control of southern barbarian. However, the barbarian king was an invincible existence in southern barbarian. He firmly suppressed the witch tribe, so the witch tribe could only surrender. The two were in a delicate state of balance. Because the tentacles of the witch tribe covered the entire southern barbarian, the worship of the gods in southern barbarian was the masterpiece of the witch tribe. Because the witch tribe controlled all kinds of foreign creatures, it was one of the special skills of the witch tribe. The witch tribe ruled southern barbarian through this primitive worship of gods, and the strongest and most powerful god in southern barbarian was the Shaman King. If the Shaman King wanted to settle accounts with the witch tribe, southern barbarians' vitality would be greatly damaged, and the super forces of other regions would benefit. In Barbarian Emperor City, there was a mysterious heaven shaman priest. Even the city lord of Barbarian Emperor City, Man Yarrow, had never seen the true face of this heaven shaman priest. Some people said that the heaven shaman priest was male, while others said that the heaven shaman priest was female. However, there was no doubt that this heaven shaman priest was incomparably mysterious and terrifying. A heavenly god had once offended the heaven shaman priest, and that heavenly god was directly refined into a poisonous beast by the heaven shaman priest. Poisonous beast was a kind of witchcraft, mysterious and terrifying. Wherever the poisonous beast went, not even a blade of grass would grow, and people would die upon contact. Even the unruly Man Yarrow didn't dare to be presumptuous in front of the heaven shaman priest. At this time, no matter how stupid Man Yarrow was, he could see that the mist in the coiling dragon gorge was strange. Not to mention his army of hundreds of thousands, even 10 times the army was absolutely not enough to fill the coiling dragon gorge. Hundreds of thousands of Barbarian Emperor City's army was blocked outside the coiling dragon gorge. City Lord, more than 2 hours later, the person who went to invite the heaven shaman priest descended from the sky and landed in front of Man Yarrow. "Where's the heaven magus priest?" Seeing that only his subordinates had returned, Man Yarrow was furious. "This City Lord. Lord Heaven Shaman Priest isn't in Barbarian Emperor City. I don't know where he went," the general said cautiously. "What?" Man Yarrow was dumbfounded. When he left the Barbarian Emperor City with his army, wasn't the Heaven Shaman Priest still in the Heavenly Shaman Manor? Now it's gone. Is that guy purposely avoiding me? Man Yarrow gritted his teeth. That bastard Sky Shaman Priest. Man Yarrow almost went crazy. If the Heaven Magus Priest didn't help them, they wouldn't be able to pass through the coiling dragon gorge. Would they really be stopped by this coiling dragon gorge? Lord Heavenly Wizard, are you really not going to make a move? At this time, on a mountain peak about 20 to 30 miles away from the coiling dragon gorge, 2 people in white stood. The one in the lead was dressed in white and wore a hat with a white veil hanging down, covering the mysterious person's face. Behind this mysterious man stood a pretty maid who was also dressed in a white robe. Man Yarrow is insufferably arrogant. Does he need me to act? The mysterious man said disapprovingly. The mysterious man's voice was very neutral, and it was hard to tell whether it was a man or a woman. It was hard to tell if this guy deliberately changed his voice or if it was just his natural voice. He, Lord Heavenly Wizard wants to see Man Yarrow suffer. The maid in white said with a smile. I'm very curious, who is that person from the Black Mountain tribe? He actually dared to kill the Barbarian Emperor's special envoy, openly going against the Barbarian Emperor. The mysterious man said. Lord Heavenly Wizard is going to the Black Mountain tribe? The maid in white said with surprise. Lord Heavenly Wizard had been staying in the Heavenly Wizard Palace in the Barbarian Emperor City for the past few years, never leaving his residence. There was nothing that could interest him. But today, Lord Heavenly Wizard seemed to be in a good mood. It's been a long time since I came out. It's not bad to stretch my bones. The mysterious Lord Heavenly Wizard said. Let's go. After saying that, Lord Heavenly Shaman flicked his sleeves, turned around, and soared into the sky. His movements were graceful and otherworldly, without a trace of the mundane world. The maid also soared into the sky and chased after him. In the void realm, only powerful beings at the divine realm could fly. Lord Heavenly Wizard's maid was able to fly at such a young age, and she was also at the divine realm. Master, can Tian Yuan and the other three really stop the army of the barbarian emperor city? In the sacred palace of the Black Mountain tribe, Ji Yufei had finished teaching Xiao Ya. Xiao Ya couldn't help but ask. They should be able to stop it. Ji Yufei nodded. How is that possible? Xiao Ya couldn't believe it. One should know that the city lord of the barbarian emperor city, Man Yao, had put in a lot of effort this time. He gathered all the tribal lords and divine spirits in the territory of the barbarian emperor city and gathered an army of hundreds of thousands to attack the Black Mountain tribe. How could Tian Yuan and the other three stop an army of hundreds of thousands? If they couldn't stop it, the army of the barbarian emperor city would have already reached the Black Mountain tribe. Ji Yufei said. This, Xiao Ya was speechless. Ji Yufei suddenly frowned, stood up, and walked out. Master, upon seeing this, Xiao Ya quickly stood up and followed them out. When Ji Yufei walked out of the sacred palace, he saw two people standing outside the gate. Strangely, the people in the surroundings didn't seem to notice them. This, Xiao Ya looked at the two white-robed people in shock. Fellow Daoist, aren't you going to invite us in? The white-clothed mysterious man wearing a hat said to Ji Yufei. The gauze hanging down from the hat covered the mysterious man's face. Fellow Daoist. Ji Yufei was stunned when he heard the name. There was actually someone in this primitive world who used this name. Who are you? Xiao Ya asked in shock. Shan Kuei and the others were standing guard outside the sacred palace. Currently, Shan Kuei and the others were standing motionlessly at the side as if they were under a spell. Master, Xiao Ya was shocked when she saw the state of Shan Kuei and the others. It's fine. Ji Yufei looked at the white-robed man curiously. Who were these two fellows who suddenly appeared out of nowhere? Please. Ji Yufei said as he walked in. Xiao Ya looked at the two mysterious people cautiously. What a cute little fellow. The white-robed servant behind the mysterious person smiled and reached out to pinch Xiao Ya's face. You, Xiao Ya immediately jumped away. Xiantian Realm? Chapter 49:16. A 5 or 6-year-old girl was actually a Xiantian Realm expert. This surprised the two mysterious men. One should know that Xiao Ya was too young. She was one of the most heaven-defying existences in the entire South China. Daoist friend, you actually killed the barbarian emperor's special envoy. How bold. After sitting down, the Heaven Magus priest said indifferently. The two of them were very straightforward. They directly crossed the mountains and came to the Black Mountain tribe. Then, they directly found Ji Yufei. They were really too straightforward. The news of Ji Yufei killing the barbarian emperor's special envoy had already shaken the entire South China. It's just a small matter. Ji Yufei said indifferently. A small matter. The maid standing behind the Heaven Magus priest was speechless. This matter could be said to have pierced the heavens. Man Yao's army of hundreds of thousands had killed their way to the coiling Dragon Gorge. However, the Heaven Magus still admired Ji Yufei's means. He actually blocked Man Yao's army of hundreds of thousands. Daoist friend, you are very modest. The Heaven Magus priest said. Because the white veil hanging down from his hat covered his face, no one could see his expression. I have always been low-key. Ji Yufei's expression remained indifferent. The Heaven Magus priest didn't know what to say. Low-key is good, low-key is good. The Heaven Magus priest was a little embarrassed. The maid standing behind the Heaven Magus priest looked at Ji Yufei with disdain. If you are low-key, then there is nothing in the world that can be high-profile. At this time, countless eyes in the entire South China were staring at the barbarian emperor city. Daoist friend, since you have come to visit me, why don't you show your face? Ji Fei looked at the mysterious man opposite him and said, "Is name and background that important?" The Heaven Magus priest said, "It doesn't seem that important." Ji Fei thought for a moment and said, "Isn't that fine?" The Heaven Magus priest said and took a sip of the tea that Xiao Wei had brewed. "Aren't you afraid that I will poison the tea?" Ji Fei said with a faint smile. "What?" The maids behind the Heaven Shaman priest were shocked upon hearing this. "You dare to poison our Lord Sky Witch?" The maid was anxious and blurted out, "You're a heaven wizard." The old priest, who was waiting at the side, turned pale with fright when he heard this. He staggered and almost fell to the ground. Even Xiao Wei was startled and hid behind Ji Fei. Only Ji Fei remained calm. "If fellow Daoist wanted to poison me, you would have done it long ago. Would I still be sitting here?" The Heaven Shaman priest said disapprovingly. "Greetings, Lord Sky Witch." At this moment, the old shaman trembled and knelt down in front of the Sky Shaman, his forehead touching the ground. He was extremely respectful. In the territory of the Barbarian Emperor City, one could choose not to know who the Barbarian Emperor City Lord was, but it was absolutely impossible to not know who the Heaven Shaman priest was. From a certain point of view, the prestige of the Heaven Shaman priest in Barbarian Emperor City was much higher than that of City Lord Man Yao. Without the approval of the Heaven Shaman priest, it would be impossible for Man Yao to command all the tribes and tribal gods in the territory. "Rise." The Heaven Shaman priest said indifferently. "Yes." The old shaman slowly stood up and lowered his head, standing respectfully to the side. "Lord Sky Witch, are you very powerful?" Ji Fei picked up the teacup on the table and took a small sip. Although the people of this world also drank tea, it was much worse than the tea he drank in the eternal world, mortal world, and heavenly world. "Impudent." The servant behind the Heaven Shaman priest glared at Ji Fei and shouted, "Me." Ji Fei sneered. In the next moment, his clothes fluttered even though there was no wind. A powerful aura spread out from his body, causing everyone to feel a powerful pressure suddenly descend upon them. Especially the servant behind the Heaven Shaman priest, she felt as if she was suffocating. "Fellow Daoist, why bother with a servant like me?" The Heaven Shaman priest casually waved his right sleeve. The maidservant standing behind the Heaven Magus shaman immediately felt the pressure on her body disappear, and the terrifying pressure from Ji Fei immediately disappeared. The servant stared at Ji Fei in horror. "Not many who dare to act presumptuously in front of me will live." Ji Fei put the teacup back on the table and said indifferently, "What?" The maid was even more frightened when she heard this. "Fellow Daoist, for my sake, will you let this matter go?" The Heaven Shaman priest's tone was still calm. No one could sense the change in his emotions from his tone. "All right." Ji Fei smiled at the Heaven Shaman priest. "Thank you, fellow Daoist." The Heaven Shaman priest said. But what? If you can let me see your true face, I will let this matter go." Ji Fei looked at the Heaven Shaman priest with a faint smile. The old priest was frightened when he heard Ji Fei's words. Who in the Barbarian Emperor City had seen the true face of the Heaven Shaman priest? The Heaven Shaman priest was an existence more powerful and mysterious than the gods in the Barbarian Emperor City. Even the gods had to kneel in front of the Heaven Shaman priest. In the Barbarian Emperor City, the Heaven Shaman priest held a supreme position in the hearts of countless tribes and gods. The servant standing behind the Heaven Shaman priest was shocked and angered. "You want to see my true face?" The Heaven Shaman priest's voice was still calm, as if nothing could affect his emotions. This reminded Ji Fei of Yang He had left the human world for some time now. He wondered how Yang and his daughter, Ji Ling, were doing. "Can't I?" Ji Fei smiled. "That depends on whether you have the ability or not." The Heaven Shaman priest said. Then let's give it a try." Ji Fei reached out his right hand and grabbed the hat on the Heaven Shaman priest's head. It didn't seem fast, but it gave people a feeling that it was impossible to dodge. "Who?" At the same time, a faint fragrance spread out from the Heaven Shaman priest. The moment they smelled the fragrance, Xiao Wei and the old priest fell to the ground and fainted. "So you're also an expert in poison?" Ji Fei didn't seem to be affected at all. "You're not bad either." The heaven shaman priest waved his right hand. In the next moment, several cold lights shot out from his sleeves, aiming for Ji Fei's chest and forehead. At such a close distance, Ji Fei had no chance to dodge. The heaven shaman priest was ruthless and wanted to kill Ji Fei, which made Ji Fei very unhappy. Perhaps Ji Fei wanted to see the heaven shaman priest's true face and angered the heaven shaman priest, causing the heaven shaman priest to want to kill him. However, in the next moment, a scene that left the heaven shaman high priests made dumbfounded appeared. Ji Fei did not dodge at all and allowed the rays of cold light to land on his body. Chapter 49:17. The art of witchcraft was full of mystery and terror in the primitive southern barbarian region. Countless people were in awe of the sorcerers. But to Ji Fei, witchcraft was nothing more than a minor Dao. His wife, Yang was the successor of the pill cauldron. She was proficient in concocting medicine, and poison was also a type of medicine. Her myriad poisons cosmic cauldron was extremely powerful. Ji Fei knew a thing or two about poison. His martial body had been tempered thousands of times and was impervious to all poisons. The shaman's poison had no effect on him. However, what shocked the heaven shaman priest and his servant was that the silver needles shot out by the heaven shaman priest couldn't even pierce through his skin and were directly blasted away. "Indestructible body of Vajra?" the shaman exclaimed in surprise. "You're from the Middle Heaven Buddhist clan?" the heaven magus priest said in shock. The Void Realm was divided into 5 regions: Southern Barbarian, West Sea, North Ruins, Middle Heaven, and East Wasteland. The entire Void Realm was filled with powerful clans, and the shaman was just one of them. The Buddhist clan and the legendary Celestial clan were the 2 strongest clans in Middle Heaven. Middle Heaven was actually controlled by the Buddhist clan. The Buddhist clan's indestructible body of Vajra was one of the most powerful abilities in the Void Realm. The shaman couldn't remain calm at the thought that this guy was from the Buddhist clan. No wonder he dared to look down on the barbarian sovereign. But the Buddhist clan was all bald, and this guy wasn't bald. "Buddhist clan? There's a Buddhist clan here?" Ji Fei was surprised. Eternal World had the Buddhist clan and the Dao clan, but he didn't expect there to be a Buddhist clan here as well. It seemed that if he wanted to find a way back, he would have to pay a visit to the Buddhist clan. He wanted to see if there was any connection between the Buddhist clan here and the Buddhist clan in Eternal World. "You're not from the Buddhist clan? How is that possible?" the shaman exclaimed. At this moment, Ji Fei made his move. His right hand reached out and grabbed the hat on the shaman's head. Swish! In the next moment, the heaven shaman priest's sleeves fluttered in the wind as she dodged the attack. Her posture was graceful, exuding an otherworldly aura. However, Ji Fei's hand of capturing immortals was extremely mysterious. Even a true supreme immortal would find it difficult to escape his clutches. Ji Fei's right hand moved like a shadow and snatched the hat off the heaven shaman priest's head. Her skin was as white as snow, her eyebrows were as beautiful as a painting, and her eyes were as clear as water. As she looked around, she gave off an elegant and otherworldly aura. Ji Fei's eyes lit up. He didn't expect this heaven shaman priest to be such a beautiful young lady. She was in her 20s. Lord Heavenly Witch, the heaven shaman priest's maids were shocked to see this. The white-clothed woman's face revealed a trace of anger and bashfulness. Her face was a little pale, but she did not panic. "You're the heaven magus priest." Ji Fei looked at the woman in white with a faint smile. "How dare you? Do you know the consequences of looking at Lord Heavenly Witch's face?" The maid threw caution to the wind and yelled at Ji Fei. Ji Fei rubbed his nose and said nonchalantly, "What's the big deal about looking? Damn it." The heaven shaman high priestess seemed to be enraged by Ji Fei's words. She immediately attacked Ji Fei. Her slender, jade-like hands danced, and transparent threads appeared in the void, wrapping around Ji Fei. "Oh, you can spit silk too? Are you a celestial silkworm?" After saying that, Ji Fei utilized his movement technique to dodge the threads wrapping around him. Next, he charged out of the holy temple. "Where do you think you're going?" The heaven shaman priest had no intention of letting Ji Fei go. She chased after him. Lord Heavenly Witch, the maid also rushed out. Who's running away? Ji Fei stopped in the courtyard in front of the holy temple. He turned around and threw a punch at Big Sister Heavenly Witchcraft. The violent fist energy turned into the shadow of a dragon and pounced at Big Sister Heavenly Witchcraft with its claws and fangs bared. What? The Heavenly Witch kicked the ground with her right foot and soared into the sky. Ji Fei's dragon-shaped fist force directly rushed past her feet and then dissipated into the void, disappearing without a trace. He knew when to stop and didn't destroy anything around him. Inescapable net. Miss Heavenly Witchcraft bellowed. In the next moment, countless transparent threads shot out of her body and intertwined together, turning into a large net that enveloped Ji Fei below. I'll break your inescapable net. After saying that, Ji Fei extended his right hand. Using his hand as a saber, he slashed at the net that was enveloping them. An extremely sharp saber energy rushed out from his hand. Without any suspense, the large net that was enveloping Ji Fei was directly cut open by his saber. Ji Fei rushed out of the hole in the net and pounced at the Heavenly Witch. The two of them started fighting in the courtyard in front of the temple. It had to be said that the Heavenly Witch was really powerful. She was many times more powerful than Xian Chong. Her spiritual energy condensed into silk threads, each as sharp as a blade. Ji Fei's sleeve was touched by one of the threads and a hole was immediately cut open. Ji Fei wouldn't even fear a real divine weapon, let alone silk threads condensed from spiritual energy. He simply ignored the sharpness of the silk threads and punched them. The powerful fist energy directly broke the silk threads. In the courtyard of the temple, the fist energy was strong and mighty, and smoke and dust filled the air. The Heavenly Witch's maid was stunned when she saw this scene. Her master's cultivation was extremely powerful. Even the half-step divine King Manyaro wasn't her master's match. This guy could actually fight with her master. Could he really be an expert from another region? Golden silkworm silk hand. The Heavenly Witch was furious. She waved her hands and her sleeves fluttered. The almost transparent silk threads turned golden and wrapped around Ji Fei's right arm. Huh! Ji Fei was taken aback. The next moment, his right sleeve was instantly cut into pieces by the golden silk threads. There was a burning pain on his arm. The power of the golden silk threads condensed by the Heavenly Witch's spiritual energy was doubled, but it still couldn't cut Ji Fei's skin. However, it made Ji Fei's right arm feel like it was being burned. Fire fist. Ji Fei didn't hesitate. The next moment, his right arm shook and a ball of fire burst out from his arm. The golden silk threads wrapped around his right arm were shattered. Alright, I've had enough fun. It's time to end this. Ji Fei suddenly grinned at the Heavenly Witch. The next moment, the Heavenly Witch's vision blurred. She was hit on the neck and fainted. A hand stretched out from the side and hugged the Heavenly Witch. The maid's eyeballs almost fell to the ground when she saw this scene. Chapter 49:18. The Heaven Witchcraft High Priestess turned out to be a young lady. This made Ji Fei very surprised. This young lady was very pretty, but why did she have to pretend to be neither a man nor a woman? You bastard, how dare you knock out our Lord Heaven Shaman? The Heaven Shaman priest's maid pointed at Ji Fei and scolded. She even wanted to snatch the Heaven Shaman priest from Ji Fei's arms. You're courting death. With a wave of Ji Fei's right hand, the maid was sent flying and slammed into the wall. She fainted and lay on the ground. Master, Xiao Wei woke up at this moment and was shocked to see this scene. Although Southern Barbarian was ruled by the barbarian sovereign, the sorcerer tribe was still very powerful. No one dared to offend the sorcerer tribe. But now, not only did her master offend the barbarian sovereign, he also offended the sorcerer tribe. The severity of this matter could no longer be described as piercing the sky. Master, who is this lady? Xiao Wei looked curiously at the lady in white that Ji Fei was carrying. This lady was as beautiful as a fairy. Heaven Shaman. Ji Fei said. What? Xiao Wei almost fainted. Her master was too powerful to knock out the Heaven Shaman priest. Could it be that her master's cultivation was so powerful that he could easily defeat the heaven shaman priest? Lord God, at this moment, the old shaman woke up. The heaven shaman priest did not intend to hurt anyone. Xiao Ya and the old shaman only fainted for a short while. Lord God, we're in trouble. The old shaman saw Ji Yufei carrying the unconscious lady in white. How could he not know what had happened? What do you mean? Ji Yufei said disapprovingly. No, Lord God, you shouldn't have looked at the heaven shaman priest's face. The old shaman said hurriedly. What? Am I going to marry her just because I looked at her? Ji Yufei asked curiously. Lord God already knows about it. The old shaman was startled and said. What? Is that true? This is too melodramatic. Ji Yufei was speechless. This is the rule of the southern barbarian shaman tribe for thousands of years. A heaven shaman cannot let others see his appearance. Once someone sees him, he must marry that person if he doesn't kill that person. The old high priest explained to Ji Yufei. Ji Yufei was speechless. The heaven witchcraft shaman was beautiful, but what did that have to do with him? Ji Yufei pondered for a moment, then directly carried this heavenly witch lady into the holy hall and settled her down. The maidservant also asked Xiao Ya to carry her in. Although Xiao Ya was still young, she was a Xiantian realm martial artist. It was very easy for her to carry the maid. People of the Black Mountain tribe, come out and die. At this moment, an angry roar came from the horizon. In the next moment, an incomparably powerful aura could be felt. The people of the Black Mountain tribe were terrified to the extreme, and a commotion broke out. Who is it? Ji Yufei was a little angry. These fellows really didn't know when to stop. He walked out and looked up, only to see rays of divine light rushing over from the southern sky. Each ray of divine light had a powerful figure wrapped around it. The leading divine light was especially bright, like a meteor streaking across the sky. In an instant, it arrived above the Black Mountain tribe. Where did this mad dog come from? Ji Yufei directly roared at the guy in the sky. What? The person in the sky was so angry that his nose became crooked. How dare he be impudent in front of the city lord? City lord, let me go and kill this arrogant fellow. At this moment, a group of powerful beings rushed over and stopped behind the person. A burly man walked out from behind the person. All right, go ahead then. The person nodded and said. He was the city lord of the barbarian emperor city, Man Yao. This guy couldn't pass through the coiling dragon gorge, so he threw his army of hundreds of thousands into the coiling dragon gorge. He brought a group of gods who could fly and directly crossed the mountains to kill his way to the Black Mountain tribe. At this moment, Man Yarrow was burning with anger. The trash of the Black Mountain tribe made him lose face. He had no choice but to abandon his hundreds of thousands of soldiers and bring less than 200 gods to the Black Mountain tribe. Although there were only 200 gods, Man Yarrow's momentum was not any weaker than the hundreds of thousands of soldiers. At this moment, the entire sky was illuminated by all kinds of divine lights. Extremely powerful Yuan Qi rippled in all directions. The thousands of people in the Black Mountain tribe were terrified to the extreme. Everyone knelt to the gods in the sky. To the people of the Black Mountain tribe, this was a miracle among miracles. No one had ever seen so many gods gathered in one place. However, in Ji Yufei's eyes, those fellows in the sky were nothing more than monsters that had yet to grow into their full potential. Little guy, go to hell. The burly man threw the axe in his hand. The axe turned into a streak of fire and descended from the sky, chopping towards Ji Yufei in front of the sacred temple. This axe could definitely split a mountain in half. However, Ji Yufei just smiled and reached out with his right hand, grabbing the axe that was falling from the sky. In the next moment, the fiery light dissipated and a huge scarlet axe appeared in his hand. What? The burly man was shocked. No one knew the power of his move better than he did. However, his opponent had actually caught the axe he had swung out with a casual grab. How is this possible? The other gods were also dumbfounded. Huanyo, did you not eat? A god sneered. Hey Hu, what did you say? Do you want to fight? The god called Huanyo turned around and roared at a dark-faced old man. His nostrils were blowing hot air and 2 black horns emerged from his forehead. So, it's an ox demon. Jiyu Fei exerted force with his right hand. Crack. Countless cracks appeared on the giant axe that was surrounded by flames. In the next moment, with a bang, the giant axe instantly shattered into pieces. Seeing Jiyu Fei crush the axe with his bare hands, the ox demon and the other demons couldn't help but be shocked. Even the calm man Yarrow couldn't help frowning. The ox demon was a half-step heavenly god. Even among the monsters, he was ranked at the top. His weapon was a true god-grade divine weapon. How could a person who could crush a true god-grade divine weapon be a weakling? You destroyed my weapon. Go to hell. The Huanyo demon roared and attacked. He slapped Jiyu Fei crazily. Fireballs fell from the sky towards Jiyu Fei. Chapter 49:19. Man Yarrow brought a group of demons and ghosts over, wanting to kill everyone in the Black Mountain tribe, leaving no one alive. However, they were stopped by Jiyu Fei alone. You want to start a massacre? It won't be easy. Rumble. At this moment, fireballs rained down from the sky above the Black Mountain tribe towards Jiyu Fei, who was standing in the courtyard in front of the sacred palace. Even in the daytime, the sky above the Black Mountain tribe was still covered in flames. Powerful Yuan Qi burst out from the fire bull monster. The fire bull monster was strong, a half-step heavenly god. Even in the territory of barbarian Emperor City, he was a formidable existence. However, in Jiyu Fei's eyes, he was not a half-step heavenly god, but just a fire bull monster. How could he put a mere fire bull monster in his eyes? He stretched out his right hand and sucked the air. In the next moment, a black hole emerged from his palm and the countless fireballs raining down from the sky gathered towards the black hole in his hand. In an instant, Jiyu Fei devoured all the fireballs shot out by the fireball monster. Everyone's eyeballs almost fell to the ground. How could this work? The voices of the demons and ghosts trembled. A faint layer of fire appeared on Jiyu Fei's body, and the layer of fire quickly disappeared from his body. You come over too. Jiyu Fei grabbed at the fire bull monster in the sky. The stunned fire bull monster immediately fell to the ground. How dare you? Man Yarrow roared and pointed his finger. A blood-red light emerged from the tip of his finger and shot towards Jiyu Fei. The blood-red light lit up half of the sky. This guy was a half-step divine king. His cultivation was extremely strong. His attack changed the color of the sky. He wanted to save the fire bull monster, but Jiyu Fei exerted strength in his hand. The fire bull monster screamed and exploded into a blood mist in the void. The powerful fire bull demon was killed by Jiyu Fei just like that. Both his body and soul were destroyed. Damn you! Man Yarrow was enraged. The blood-colored light instantly expanded and enveloped Jiyu Fei and the entire palace. He could destroy the space covered by the blood-colored light with a single thought. However, at this moment, Jiyu Fei made a fist gesture. An invisible domain energy instantly spread out from his body and protected the entire sacred palace. What? Man Yarrow was shocked. He realized that he had severely underestimated this guy. Jiyu Fei sneered, and then he smashed his fist towards the sky. In the next moment, a huge fist shadow soared into the sky, broke through Man Yarrow's blood-red light and hit the monsters in the sky. After that, more than half of the monsters in the sky disappeared. Those that had disappeared were directly blasted into a bloody mist by Jiyu Fei's punch. It's raining blood. The people of the Black Mountain tribe suddenly felt something warm fall on their faces and bodies. They touched it with their hands and saw that their hands were covered in blood. Those lucky monsters weren't hit by Jiyu Fei's punch, but they were scared less by Jiyu Fei's punch. Since when are the divine spirits so weak? Those so-called divine spirits that weren't killed by Jiyu Fei's punch were scared out of their wits. They fled in all directions. Man Yarrow almost vomited blood. *CK, this guy is too ruthless. He killed more than half of his men with one punch. Originally, Man Yarrow had brought more than 100 gods from different tribes to attack the Black Mountain tribe. But now, Jiyu Fei had killed 70 to 80 of them in just one move. Moreover, when they were in the Coiling Dragon Gorge, more than a dozen gods had fallen into the Coiling Dragon Gorge. Now, only a dozen or so gods had survived. They were all scared out of their wits and had fled far away. This, in the courtyard of the Holy Hall, Xiao Ya and the old shaman were stunned when they saw what had happened. They thought they were hallucinating. Killing dozens of deities with one punch was a scene that they would never forget for the rest of their lives. At this time, Ji Fei slowly retracted his fist. This punch consumed almost 50% of his yuan qi. Fortunately, he had asked Tian Yuan and the others to catch up to Xian Chong and retrieve the 10,000-year fire ginseng from him. However, it was a pity that less than half of the 10,000-year fire ginseng had been eaten by Xian Chong. This guy was really wasting natural resources. The 10,000-year fire ginseng was good stuff. The fire elemental spirit qi it contained was immense. If an ordinary person took a small bite, their body would explode and they would die. However, to those divine spirits, the 10,000-year fire ginseng was a great treasure. It could increase their cultivation level and even extend their lifespan. Ji Fei took out the 10,000-year fire ginseng that Xian Chong had eaten and took a big bite. The 10,000-year fire ginseng wasn't hard. Instead, it was crispy and refreshing. The fire ginseng meat melted in his mouth. Ji Fei felt a fiery heat flow from his throat into his stomach like molten iron. Soon, he felt as if there was a ball of fire burning in his stomach. The yuan qi that he had consumed was instantly replenished. Ji Fei felt his body brimming with strength as a faint layer of fire appeared on his body. 10,000-year fire ginseng? Man Yarrow was shocked when he saw the thing in Ji Fei's hand. At this moment, Ji Fei had already put away the 10,000-year fire ginseng. An incomparably powerful aura erupted from his body. Another part of the power in his body had been awakened. This, Man Yarrow looked down at Ji Fei. In a trance, he felt like he was facing a huge mountain. The other party gave him a strong sense of oppression. This guy, Man Yarrow, was shocked and angry at the same time. He took out the wind-fire halberd. This was a heavenly god-grade weapon. With the halberd in hand, his aura instantly doubled. Lord Divine Spirit, he is Man Yarrow, the third son of Man King. You have to be careful. The old priest looked at Man Yarrow in the sky and quickly reminded Ji Fei. At this moment, the mighty pressure of a half-step Divine King made his divine soul tremble. Man King's third son? Ji Fei was a little surprised. This guy was actually Man King's son. If he killed Man King's son, Man King would probably kill him immediately. Man King, Ji Fei was looking forward to it. Man King was the strongest expert in South Man. Maybe only Man King could force all the power in his body to awaken. However, Ji Fei wasn't sure if he had to face Man King now. Kneel down and surrender, and I will spare your life. Ji Fei stood with his hands behind his back and looked at Man Yarrow indifferently. What? Man Yarrow almost fell from the sky after hearing Ji Fei's words. This guy was too arrogant. He actually wants me to kneel down and beg for mercy? A warrior can be killed but not humiliated. I will kill you today. Man Yarrow's voice was trembling with anger. Aya, stop talking nonsense. Make your move. I guarantee that even your father Man King won't be able to recognize you. Ji Fei said disapprovingly. You asshole. Man Yarrow was fuming with anger because of Ji Fei. He held the halberd in his hand and charged down from the sky. As he moved, the spiritual energy of the heaven and earth moved. It was like a giant dragon descending from the sky, pouncing towards Ji Fei. Aya. Ji Fei punched again. A giant fist shadow appeared again and hit the head of the giant dragon. The giant dragon was blown away. This. Chapter 49:20. Man Yarrow was so depressed that he almost coughed blood. He was actually forced back by this guy from the Black Mountain tribe with one punch. Who the hell are you? Man Yarrow flew into the air. His blood boiled and blood rushed to his throat. But he swallowed it back. Who I am has nothing to do with you. Ji Fei stood with his hands behind his back and said indifferently, You killed Emperor Barbarian's envoy and my men. Do you think it has nothing to do with me? Man Yarrow was about to go crazy. Are you stupid? The weak are prey to the strong. This is the law of the world. I'm stronger than them. You guys provoked me and got killed. You deserved it. Ji Fei sneered. What did you say? Man Yarrow's veins were twitching. No one had ever dared to call him stupid, not even his father. How dare this guy call him stupid? Hehe, if you were stronger than me, I would have been killed by you already. Ji Fei smiled. It's not too late to kill you now. Man Yarrow held the windfire halberd and charged at Ji Fei again. Swish. He brandished the halberd in his hand and charged down from the sky, directly striking at Ji Fei's head. The power of wind and fire erupted from the halberd, making it seem as if the entire halberd was on fire. At the same time, transparent wind blades rushed out from the halberd and slashed towards Ji Fei below. The strong power of wind and fire spread out, and in the sky above the Black Mountain tribe, the wind howled angrily. Divine flames burned the sky, and even the sky changed color. God, spare me. God, please don't be angry, I don't want to die. Everyone in the Black Mountain tribe was scared out of their wits. When a god was angry, the heavens and the earth would shake. When had they ever seen such a terrifying scene? God Maya *S. From now on, the Black Mountain tribe will no longer worship gods. In my eyes, gods are just a bunch of demons and ghosts. Ji Fei's voice rang out. Although it wasn't loud, it was clearly transmitted to everyone's ears. It was like a morning bell that shook the souls of countless people. Today, I will kill a god. After saying that, Ji Fei soared into the sky to meet Man Yarrow's halberd. This guy, the Sky Shaman Priestess, had already woken up. She saw Ji Fei's silhouette, who was going against the natural order and fighting against the gods, and a strange feeling rose in her heart. Today, I will kill a god. Ji Fei's voice reverberated throughout heaven and earth, shocking everyone to the extreme. How arrogant. The heaven shamans maid woke up as well. She wasn't injured, she just fainted. In the sky, a scene that countless people in the Black Mountain tribe would never be able to forget for the rest of their lives appeared. A silhouette shot up into the sky, fighting against the invincible god with his own strength. The man who defied the heavens was no longer a god, but a human with flesh and blood. Could a human really kill a god? Everyone in the Black Mountain tribe was shocked. In fact, the people of the Black Mountain tribe were brought here by the other four gods. They were the people of the Heaven Ape, Sky Wolf, Golden Lion, and Fire Bear tribes. They joined the Black Mountain tribe and became their people. In their eyes, a god was invincible. Anyone who went against a god was destined to die a horrible death. But now, their master was going to kill a god. To these ignorant people, was there anything more shocking than this? At this moment, Ji Fei's fist broke through the power of wind and fire descending from the sky. His fist directly smashed onto the blade of the halberd. Clang. When Ji Fei's fist collided with Man Yarrow's halberd, a metal clanging sound was heard. How is this possible? Man Yarrow only felt a huge force coming from the halberd in his hand. He felt like he was hit by a mountain and was sent flying. The halberd almost flew out of his hand. The eyes of the other gods almost fell out of their sockets when they saw this scene. This guy actually took on the wind and fire halberd with his bare hands. That was a heavenly god-level divine weapon. No wonder this guy dared to kill Barbarian King's envoy and disregard Man Yarrow, the third son of Barbarian King. Is this guy a divine king? When the other gods thought of this, they retreated even further away. Man Yarrow was only a half-step divine king. Who are you? Man Yarrow shouted at Ji Fei. I'm your grandfather. Ji Fei slowly walked through the void, approaching Man Yarrow step by step. With every step he took, the aura around him would increase by a notch. It was as if the whole world was shaking under Ji Fei's feet. Unity of man and nature. Man Yarrow was truly frightened. In his eyes, Ji Fei was like an entire world crushing down on him. How was he supposed to fight? Preposterous. Man Yarrow was shocked and angry. He took out a jade bottle, opened the stopper, and ate the contents. What is he playing at this time? Ji Fei could not help but knit his brows. Roar. At this moment, Man Yarrow raised his head and roared. His body was covered in blood-red light as he stared at Ji Fei. Seeing Man Yarrow's current appearance, Ji Fei was startled. Man Yarrow's eyes had turned blood red. It was a soul-shaking sight. Man Yarrow's aura became incomparably violent. Die! Man Yarrow roared and charged towards Ji Yufei in a frenzy. So what? Ji Yufei punched out with the 5-elemental fist. The power of the 5 elements burst out from his fists and collided with Man Yarrow's halberd, producing metallic clangs. Man Yarrow's battle prowess rose to a level that even Ji Yufei had to pay attention to. Ji Yufei was curious. What did Man Yarrow eat to increase his battle prowess in an instant? It must be something good. However, Ji Yufei was still fearless. He unleashed his 5-elemental fist force and fought Man Yarrow with his fists. When the crowd saw this, they were all shocked. No one could have imagined that there would be such a powerful person in the Black Mountain tribe. Who is this guy? The Heaven Shaman priest was also shocked when he saw the 2 figures fighting in the sky. One should know that Man Yarrow was a half-step divine king. Man Yarrow ate something that could increase his potential. At this moment, his battle prowess was comparable to a divine king. This guy could fight with Man Yarrow endlessly. Could he be a god king? The celestial shaman priest's mind raced. Chapter 49:21. Ever since Ji Yufei came to this world, this was the first time he met an expert like Man Yarrow. When this fella went crazy, his combat power wasn't bad. Moreover, when this fella went crazy, it was even easier to deal with him. When Ji Yufei fought, not only did he devour the surrounding heaven and earth spirit energy, but he also devoured his opponent's essence energy. The more he fought, the stronger he got. However, his opponent got weaker and weaker. As the battle went on, Ji Yufei would naturally emerge as the victor. As Ji Yufei refined the heaven and earth spirit energy in this world for his own use, his sealed power was constantly awakening. This was the result of Ji Yufei assimilating with this world. He gradually gained the recognition of this world, and his power would recover. Of course, if his power was strong enough to ignore the Void Realm's heaven and earth laws, then he wouldn't need to care about them. The Void Realm's heaven and earth laws wouldn't be able to suppress him. At this moment, 2 figures were moving rapidly in the air. Muffled sounds of collisions could be heard. Vast essence energy ripples spread out from the sky. Near the Black Mountain tribe, sand and stones were blown everywhere. The Black Mountain tribe hid in their stone houses and didn't dare to come out. Bang! Ji Yufei sent Man Yarrow flying with another punch. At this moment, faint Dao patterns started to appear around his body. That was the sign of his power awakening. This was just the first Dao pattern. 9 returned to 1. Ji Yufei had cultivated 9 of the most primitive Dao patterns, and each Dao pattern represented one of the most primitive powers. He was evolving his own Dao. If he could condense all 9 Dao patterns on his body, then the power that was suppressed by this world would be awakened. This was a sword-shaped Dao pattern. It represented the sword Dao that Ji Yufei cultivated. The sword Dao was an offensive Dao. As long as one had a sword in hand, one sword could break all laws. It was incomparably powerful. Just as Ji Yufei was condensing the sword Dao pattern, some of the godly spirits that cultivated the sword Dao were instantly stunned. That was because their swords were actually vibrating. Especially Xiao Ya. Previously, when Ji Yufei killed the barbarian sovereign's envoy, he gave her his spoils of war, a bronze sword. At this moment, the bronze sword in Xiao Ya's hand began to tremble, as if it was being summoned by something, and was about to fly out of her hand. This, Xiao Ya was very shocked. Her master's sword Dao cultivation was really too powerful. Ji Yufei's sword Dao had already been cultivated to the extreme. Although he had only just successfully condensed one of the 9 sword Dao he had cultivated, it already possessed a trace of the 10,000 swords returning to origin aura. Roar. After Man Yarrow was sent flying by Ji Yufei's fist, he immediately roared and charged at Ji Yufei. It was as if he didn't know pain. His blood-red eyes were filled with madness and viciousness. This guy, although Ji Yufei wasn't afraid of this guy, especially since he had condensed one of the 9 sword Dao patterns and awakened the power of the sword Dao, he didn't need to be afraid of Man Yarrow. He used his palm as a sword and slashed at the incoming Man Yarrow. An extremely sharp sword light immediately rushed out of his hand and slashed at Man Yarrow's head. Man Yarrow roared and waved the halberd in his hand to sweep at the sword light. Clang! The sound of metal colliding echoed. Man Yarrow was sent flying by Ji Yufei's attack, and a sword mark appeared on the halberd in his hand. It was as if it had been slashed by a real peerless divine sword. However, after Man Yarrow ate the thing in the small bottle, his entire person changed. It seemed like he only knew how to fight and kill the people in front of him. He seemed to be unable to feel anything else. He completely ignored the shocking battle strength displayed by Ji Yufei and immediately attacked Ji Yufei. Violent energy burst out of his body, and rays of blood light circled around him. "You're courting death." Ji Yufei didn't hold back anymore. 9 swords exterminating the heavens. He separated his hands in front of him, and 9 rays of sword light immediately appeared around him. The rays of sword light turned into 9 sword shadows, and each ray of sword light gave off a shocking ripple of sword chi. Roar! Man Yarrow was still madly attacking Ji Yufei. Go! Ji Yufei waved his hands, and in the next moment, the 9 sword lights around him pierced towards Man Yarrow like 9 rainbows. Clang! The sound of metal colliding echoed. The 9 sword shadows danced around Man Yarrow, and chilling sword chi spread out. The temperature of the void dropped rapidly under the impact of the sword chi. Even the gods who had retreated far away and were scared out of their wits could still feel the sword energy coming towards them, giving them a creepy feeling as if a sharp blade was pressed against their throats. These so-called godly spirits had no choice but to retreat even further away. At this moment, Man Yarrow waved the wind-fire halberd in his hand and actually blocked the 9 sword lights. To Ji Yufei, this was simply a miracle. The 9 sky execution swords was Ji Yufei's trump card. However, very quickly, Ji Yufei's 9 sword lights broke through Man Yarrow's defense. 1 sword light directly pierced through Man Yarrow's left shoulder and brought out a cloud of blood mist. After being hit, Man Yarrow couldn't block Ji Yufei's sword lights at all. In the next moment, a cloud of blood mist rushed out of Man Yarrow's body. The 9 sword lights continuously pierced through his body, and he howled miserably as he fell from the sky. Boom! Man Yarrow directly smashed a large pit in the ground. A large halberd fell from the sky and directly stabbed into the ground not far away. Damn, third master lost. The godly spirits that saw this scene were stunned. They immediately turned around and wanted to escape. However, Ji Yufei waved his right hand and directly swept his sword towards these so-called godly spirits that were hiding and watching the show. Where the sword light passed, more than a dozen godly spirits were directly killed and turned into a cloud of blood mist. The sky once again started to rain blood, and the smell of blood in the void became even thicker. I said that today, I will kill a god. Ji Yufei placed his hands behind his back and walked down from the sky step by step. At this moment, the heaven shaman priest was already stunned. This guy is too amazing. He actually defeated Man Yarrow and killed so many godly spirits. Is he really not afraid of the barbarian sovereign? The barbarian sovereign's strength was indescribable. Back then, the barbarian sovereign fought with the shaman sovereign for 10 days and 10 nights, directly destroying the mountains within 1,000 miles. The impact of that battle was far-reaching. The shaman sovereign was defeated and then retired. The barbarian sovereign became the sovereign of South Barbarian. Because of this, the shaman sovereign lost his right to rule South Barbarian. Even though Ji Yufei defeated Man Yarrow, in the eyes of the heaven shaman priest, it didn't mean that Ji Yufei could challenge the barbarian sovereign. One should know that there was no comparison between the barbarian sovereign and Man Yarrow. The barbarian sovereign was an invincible sovereign while Man Yarrow was only a half-step divine king. You're awake. Ji Yufei wasn't surprised to see the heaven shaman priest. You killed Man Yarrow? Although the heaven shaman didn't have a good impression of Man Yarrow, killing Man Yarrow would cause a huge problem. After all, Man Yarrow was the son of the barbarian sovereign. The barbarian sovereign would probably go crazy if he killed the son of the barbarian sovereign. Who said that I killed him? Ji Yufei smiled. Go and drag that guy over. Ji Yufei ordered the old shaman. The old shaman hesitated. Ji Yufei looked at the old shaman with a sharp gaze. Yes, Lord God. The old shaman accepted the order with a trembling voice. Don't call me Lord God from now on, call me Master. Ji Fei said. Yes, God. Ah, Master. The old shaman left and called Shan Kuei to bring a dozen of his men to capture Man Yao. You're really not afraid of the barbarian sovereign? The heaven shaman priest found it hard to imagine that this guy dared to come to southern barbarian at such a young age and offend the barbarian sovereign. Even the descendants of the top powers wouldn't dare to do such a thing. There's no one in this world that I'm afraid of. Ji Fei said confidently. What a big tone. The heaven shaman priest was speechless. What? I heard that you heaven shaman have a rule? Ji Fei suddenly looked at the heaven shaman priest with a smile that wasn't a smile. I don't know what you're talking about. The heaven shaman priest's face suddenly revealed a trace of shyness. You really don't know? Haha. Ji Fei laughed. At this time, Shan Kuei and the others walked in from the outside with a person in their arms. This person was covered in blood and mud. He looked extremely miserable. Man Yarrow, who was acting high and mighty and wanted to destroy the Black Mountain tribe, was now like a dead dog. He couldn't even stand up and had to be carried by others. Seeing Ji Fei, Man Yarrow was so excited that he vomited blood. Ji Fei didn't waste time talking to this guy. He grabbed Man Yarrow's head and read his memories. Ji Fei let go of Man Yarrow, but his expression wasn't good because this Man Yarrow wasn't a kind person. This guy actually used a living person to practice his technique. Let me go, or you're dead. Man Yarrow didn't believe that this guy would dare to kill him because he was the third son of the barbarian sovereign. Let you go. Ji Fei looked at Man Yarrow and said to Shan Kuei, let him go. Yes, Master. Shan Kuei's two subordinates who were holding Man Yarrow on both sides let go of him. This guy laid on the ground like a dead dog. Even if I let you go, you won't be able to crawl out of here. Ji Fei mocked. Man Yarrow almost fainted. He was the third son of the barbarian sovereign and everything had been smooth ever since he was born. When had he ever been in such a pathetic state? If looks could kill, Ji Fei would have died many times. Drag him out and kill him. Ji Fei said to Shan Kuei. What? Everyone was dumbfounded. Kill Man Yarrow? That was the third master of the barbarian sovereign city, the son of the barbarian sovereign. Killing him would be irreversible. You dare. My father will kill your entire family. Man Yarrow was still stubborn. Swish. Ji Fei pointed his finger and a ray of sword energy shot out, piercing Man Yarrow's head. Everyone was shocked. Man Yarrow didn't expect that Ji Fei would really kill him. His face was filled with fear, it was frozen on his face. Man Yarrow is dead. Even the heaven shaman priest was shocked. He really pierced the sky. Chapter 49:22. Ji Fei actually killed the third son of the barbarian emperor, Man Yarrow, in front of everyone. This caused everyone to turn into statues. The old priest was almost scared to death. Even though this fella was despicable, even though he came to the Black Mountain tribe aggressively and wanted to kill everyone, the old priest really didn't want this fella to die. Because this fella was the son of the barbarian emperor. But now, this prominent figure was dead. Moreover, he died in the hands of his new master, Ji Fei. The barbarian emperor would definitely be furious, and then, no one dared to imagine what would happen next. Just as Ji Fei killed Man Yarrow with a finger, in the real royal city of South Man, in an inconspicuous hall within the barbarian royal palace, there was a cracking sound. A jade tablet that was enshrined in the hall suddenly exploded and turned into powder. This scene shocked the guards of the hall. Soon, an angry roar came from the imperial city. Countless living beings in the entire imperial city felt a terrifying pressure erupt from the barbarian imperial palace. Everyone was terrified to the extreme. Barbarian Emperor, is this how you welcome an old friend? Just then, an old voice came from the sky and a figure appeared in the sky. Ghostly Emperor, you old fart. Did you do this? A furious roar came from the royal city. Then, a figure rushed out from the royal city and instantly appeared in the sky, fighting with that person. You're crazy. The Ghost Emperor was shocked and furious. He retreated immediately. However, The barbarian emperor didn't let him off and chased after him. "Barbarian emperor, you be ****. Do you think I'm afraid of you?" The ghostly figure immediately engaged in a great battle with the barbarian emperor. The terrifying aura spread in all directions. Countless living beings were terrified. This was a battle between emperors. Two emperors rushed into the sky and fought in the depths of the starry sky. Otherwise, the entire region would be destroyed and everything would be destroyed. That was because emperors were so powerful and terrifying. They could easily destroy mountains, crush the ground, stop the rivers, overturn the seas, and cause countless living beings to suffer. The news of the battle between the barbarian sovereign and the ghost sovereign spread, shaking the entire void realm and attracting the attention of countless people. The ghost emperor was the emperor of the North Ruins, one of the 5 great regions of the void realm. The North Ruins was the world of the ghost race, and the ghost race was actually a race of ghost cultivators. Abandoning the corporeal body and cultivating the ghost body was the cultivation method of the ghost race. The ghostly emperor appearing in the southern barbaric lands was a very unusual thing. It should be known that these two great forces had never had any dealings. Furthermore, the two monarchs actually started fighting. This was something that could shake the entire void realm. "Are you ***king insane? What does your son's death have to do with me?" Ghostly Emperor was incomparably depressed. He had just arrived in South Barbaric and had a fight with Barbaric Emperor. Although he wasn't injured, he wasn't happy to be beaten up for no reason. "Let me vent, or else I'll really go crazy." In the starry sky, the two sovereigns stopped. The two of them actually knew each other, and their relationship seemed to be pretty good. If others knew that they were old friends, perhaps everyone's jaws would drop because this was too inconceivable. "Who was it that killed my son?" Barbaric Emperor really wanted to kill his way back to Barbaric Imperial City, but he couldn't leave now because there was a big matter that he couldn't leave. "Let's go, we won't be able to get anything if we're late." As Ghostly Emperor spoke, he turned into a ray of black light and instantly disappeared. Barbaric Emperor thought for a moment, gritted his teeth, and chased after Ghostly Emperor. At this moment, as Barbaric Emperor left, the entire palace was in chaos because the life token of Barbaric Emperor's third son was actually broken. There was only one possibility: Barbaric Yarrow was dead. So headstrong and likes to be in the limelight, not knowing how to endure. In the end, it's all over. In the southern royal palace, a figure stood on the roof of the palace, holding a jar of wine in his hand. He looked at the chaotic palace expressionlessly. "Second Prince, Crown Prince requests your presence." At this moment, a figure silently appeared behind this person. He was the second son of Barbaric Emperor, Barbaric Yu. "Big brother, why are you looking for me?" Barbaric Yu frowned. After that, he raised the jar and gulped down a mouthful of wine before leaping down from the cauldron. The death of Barbaric Emperor's third son, Barbaric Yarrow, shook the southern barbarian emperor. Countless powers were watching, and many of them were ready to make a move. However, everyone was afraid of Barbaric Emperor, so no one dared to make a move. Very quickly, more than 10 powerful figures left Southern Royal City and headed straight for Barbaric Imperial City. Although this Barbaric Imperial City was located in a remote and desolate area, due to special reasons, it was the second imperial city of Southern Barbarian. It was impossible for the Southern Barbarian imperial family to not care about Barbaric imperial family's death. Moreover, the Southern Barbarian imperial family acted very quickly, directly sending experts to Barbaric Imperial City. The person leading the team was slightly surprised. This person was actually Barbaric Emperor's second son, Barbaric Yu. This caused many people's imaginations to run wild. Some people said that this was because the Crown Prince wanted to eradicate dissidents, so he sent the second prince to his death because the third prince died in Barbaric Imperial City. Wasn't sending the second prince to his death by sending him to Barbaric Imperial City? At this time, in the territory of Barbaric Imperial City, the news of Barbaric Imperial City's death spread. When the hundreds of thousands of troops outside the Coiling Dragon Gorge received the news, they immediately scattered like monkeys when the tree falls. In less than half an hour, all the troops were gone. All the overlords of the tribes brought their troops and returned to their tribes at the first moment. More than 100 divine beings died in battle, causing these tribes to lose the protection of the divine beings. In this way, the tribes in the surrounding areas would attack them and expand their territories. The battles between primitive tribes were very realistic, that is, to fight for resources and territory. Tian Yuan and the other 3 divine beings directly returned to the Black Mountain tribe. It's time to take down barbaric imperial city. In the Black Mountain tribe's holy palace, Ji Yufei said indifferently. I think you should hurry up and escape, barbaric emperor will arrive at any time. The heaven shaman priest said to Ji Yufei. Is that so? Ji Yufei still didn't think much of it. Although barbaric emperor was strong, he was dreaming if he wanted to kill him. At this time, Ji Yufei finally understood the magical effect of the boundless qi. As long as the boundless qi didn't dissipate, he wouldn't die. The boundless qi could make him immortal. Even if he couldn't defeat barbaric emperor now, he believed that it wouldn't be long before barbaric emperor would be trampled under his feet. The heaven shaman priest was speechless. Acting on his thoughts, this was Ji Yufei's character. He actually brought only Xiao Ya and the 4 divine beings to kill their way to barbaric imperial city. This guy is really crazy. Chapter 49-23. The barbarian emperor city was in chaos. Because the 3rd son of the barbarian emperor was killed in the Black Mountain tribe. When the news spread, the entire barbarian emperor city fell into a state of panic. The first thought of the rulers of the city wasn't how to avenge Man Yarrow, but how to survive. Some directly packed their belongings and ran. No one knew when the madman who killed Man Yarrow would suddenly come to the city. That madman even dared to kill the 3rd son of the barbarian emperor, let alone them. For a time, the 4 gates of the city were filled with people. Everyone wanted to escape the city at the first moment. In the midst of panic and chaos, many people were trampled to death. And all the tribes in the territory of the barbarian emperor city were in danger, afraid that the Black Mountain tribe would come to kill them. At this time, no one would care about the affairs of the barbarian emperor city. So, when Ji Yufei brought his men to barbaric emperor city, the entire city fell into panic and chaos. Some people took advantage of the situation, burning, killing, and looting the city. However, there was a place in the barbarian emperor city that was very peaceful. Even if the outside was in chaos, no one dared to break into this place. And this place was the Heaven Witch Palace. This was the residence of the Heaven Witch Palace. Even if there were no guards, the people of the barbarian emperor city wouldn't dare to break in. At this time, the Heaven Witch priest returned to the Heaven Witch Palace. Then, the people of the Heaven Witch Palace started to move. They quickly took control of the entire city. Even the red armor guards of the 3rd son of the barbarian emperor had no choice but to listen to the Heaven Witch Palace. The combat strength of the red armor guards was unquestionable. They directly swept through the entire barbarian emperor city. Those who caused trouble in the city were all killed by the red armor guards. The chaotic situation was under control. And Ji Yufei directly entered the city lord's mansion. With Ji Yufei's strength, he quickly took control of the city lord's mansion. He then ordered people to hang the corpse of the 3rd son of the barbarian emperor in the square outside the city lord's mansion. This Man Yarrow really deserved to die. Ji Yufei read Man Yarrow's memory and knew what kind of person he was. This guy actually used living people to practice his evil technique. Seeing Man Yarrow's corpse hanging outside the city lord's mansion, everyone in the city was shocked to the extreme. Submit, or die. Ji Yufei's voice wasn't loud, but it spread throughout the entire city. The 4 god spirits started attacking. Those who didn't submit were killed by the god spirits led by Tian Yuan, especially Man Yarrow's subordinates. In fact, Tian Yuan and the others wanted to get rid of the Scarlet Armor Guards, but the Sky Magus Palace had stepped forward to protect the Scarlet Armor Guards. Even Tian Yuan and the others did not dare to go against the Sky Magus Palace. Little girl from the Heaven Witch Palace, what is the meaning of this? Ji Yufei directly came to the Heavenly Witch Palace to demand an explanation. Chick. When those people who were taking refuge in the Heaven Witch Palace heard Ji Yufei's words, they were all stunned. Who would dare to be impudent in the Heaven Witch Palace? If it wasn't for the fact that the people from the Sky Witch Palace allowed them to enter, to be honest, No one would dare to enter the Sky Witch Palace to seek refuge. Fellow Daoist, how about giving me some face? The Heaven Magus priest's voice came from the main hall of the Heaven Magus Palace. If you talk any more, I'll take you back to warm my bed. Gu Fei said loudly. The voice in the hall immediately disappeared. Lord Heaven Magus, within the main hall of the Heaven Magus Palace, the Heaven Magus priest sat on her throne with a hat covering her face. The servant beside her felt indignant but helpless at the same time. Because that fellow outside was truly a madman. He even dared to kill the third son of the barbarian emperor. What else did he not dare to do? If you don't submit, then die. Gu Fei swept his gaze across those nobles in the courtyard in front of the main hall. There were truly many people in the courtyard. The leaders of the three great clans were all here. Mo clan's clan head, Shen clan's clan head, and Wu clan's clan head were all here. Everyone was looking at the three clan heads. Kill the three of them. Gu Fei directly ordered. Yes, master. Tian Yuan directly stepped forward and was about to act. This lowly one is willing to submit. The Mo clan's clan head was so frightened that he knelt on the ground and begged Gu Fei for mercy. Old Mo, you coward. This daddy is ashamed to be associated with you. The Shen clan's clan head roared at the Mo clan's clan head. You're not cowardly. You're awesome. You're amazing. Tian Yuan said as he punched towards the Shen clan's clan head. The Shen clan's clan head also punched out. As the Shen clan's clan head, how could he not be capable? Boom. Two fists instantly collided. Tian Yuan was actually forced to take a few steps back. As for the Shen clan's clan head, he was unmoving like a mountain. It was clear who was superior. The ripples of essence chi caused the surrounding people to stumble and look extremely pathetic. You have some ability. No wonder you're not cowardly. Gu Fei looked at the Shen clan's clan head calmly and said, Brat, if a tiger doesn't show its prowess, do you think I'm a sick cat? The Shen clan's clan head struck out a fist stance. Powerful essence chi ripples exploded from his body. The surrounding people were all shocked. Sigh. Gu Fei let out a sigh. Eat my fist. The Shen clan's clan head said as he exerted strength in his legs and pounced towards Gu Fei. His right fist smashed towards Gu Fei's head with lightning speed. Scram. Gu Fei's slap flew towards the Shen clan's clan head. Pa. It was a ruthless slap to the face. The Shen clan's clan head was sent flying. Boom. He smashed through the wall and fell outside. Acting cool in front of me? You're asking for death. Gu Fei stood with his hands behind his back and said indifferently. Everyone was stunned by Gu Fei's move. I'm willing to submit. The Wu clan's clan head also knelt towards Gu Fei. Do you know that you're being insincere? Gu Fei glanced at them and said. The Wu clan's clan head and the Mo clan's clan head were both shocked and furious. How about this? How about you destroy the Shen clan now? Gu Fei thought about it and said. Yes, master. The Wu clan's and Mo clan's clan heads quickly accepted the order. Then, the Shen clan became history in Barbarian Emperor City. The two clans acted against the Shen clan at the same time and divided the Shen clan's territory. This was a good thing for the two clans. You think you'll be fine just by hiding here? Gu Fei didn't put the Sky Witch Palace in his eyes. He directly killed the commanders of the Red Armor Guards and replaced them with people from the two clans. With Gu Fei's thunderous methods, he quickly gained control of the entire Barbarian Emperor City. Even the priests of the Sky Witch Palace didn't dare to come out and say anything. Actually, many people were watching the Sky Witch Palace. The attitude of the Sky Witch Palace was crucial. Now that even the Sky Witch Palace didn't say anything, tacitly agreeing to Gu Fei occupying the Barbarian Emperor City, what else could the others say? In less than a day, the Barbarian Emperor City changed its master. When the second son of the Barbarian Emperor, Man Yu, brought his men to the Barbarian Emperor City, the sky had already changed. Over a dozen powerful figures descended from the sky and landed on the plaza in front of the city lord's residence. The sunset was like blood, and the air was still filled with a faint smell of blood. It's the third prince, Someone immediately recognized the corpse of the third son of the barbarian emperor hanging on the flagpole. Too much. An old man rushed up, cut the rope, and put the corpse of the third son of the barbarian sovereign down. Little thief, come out and receive your death. Another middle-aged man walked towards the great hall. He was enraged, and his voice spread far and wide. Almost half of the people in the city heard it. What happened? It's from the city lord's residence. Could it be that the barbarian emperor has arrived? Everyone in the city was shocked. If the barbarian emperor personally arrived, that lunatic from the Black Mountain tribe would definitely die. Swish. What responded to this middle-aged man was an arrow. A sharp arrow shot out from the great hall. The speed was so fast that even the middle-aged man didn't have time to dodge. Pu. That middle-aged man was directly shot, and his entire body was sent flying. He was sent flying tens of feet away by the arrow before he was nailed to the wall and no longer had any signs of life. What? Everyone was shocked. No one expected that they had just arrived at the barbarian emperor city, and they hadn't even seen the enemy and they had already lost a person. Damn it. Impudent. Damn it. Man Yu's underlings roared in anger as they drew their weapons and stared at the opened door of the great hall with vigilance. Scram back to where you came from, or you will end up like that guy. A voice came from the great hall. How dare you? Do you know who you are talking to? An old servant beside Man Yu said angrily. I don't care who he is. I even dared to kill Man Yao. Do you think I'm afraid of you? What a joke. The voice from the great hall continued. What? Everyone's expression changed. Kill. Man Yu ordered. Boom. 13 experts leaped up at the same time and pounced towards the great hall. Powerful Yuan Qi rippled out, and the spiritual Qi of heaven and earth became chaotic. Murderous intent surged. Just when the guy at the front was about to kill his way into the great hall, he seemed to have suddenly collided with an invisible wall and was sent flying. Moreover, his head was bleeding, and he fell to the ground. He slid on the ground for a distance before he stopped. He couldn't stand up for a while. When the others saw this, they hurriedly stopped. However, some people couldn't stop and couldn't control their momentum. Then, as if they had hit a transparent wall, they were sent flying. What's going on? In this way, everyone couldn't remain calm. At this moment, Man Yu, the second son of the barbarian emperor, silently retreated. Bang! Boom! A group of people attacked with all their might. Waves of Yuan Qi blasted into the void, and transparent ripples spread out from the void. At this moment, these experts from the southern imperial city discovered that the entire great hall was actually enveloped by a layer of transparent energy. How are we going to fight? Everyone's heart turned cold. No one thought that the person who killed Third Master would be so powerful. One should know that there were real divine kings among these people. Even divine kings were blocked. This was truly unimaginable. A bunch of trash dares to take revenge for Man Yarrow. Chapter 49-24. Man Yu came. Although Man Yu reeked of alcohol like a profligate son, he was decisive in killing and directly ordered his men to kill Ji Yu Fei. However, an unbelievable scene appeared. The 13 experts under Man Yu's command were actually unable to break into the barbarian emperor city's city governor estate, and they were obstructed by a formidable shapeless force. When Man Yu saw this, he silently retreated. Among the 13 experts, the leader was a general. His name was Jin Xiao, and he was an expert of the southern imperial city's Jin family. He was a God King expert. Who is that? Could it be that he killed Third Master? Seeing someone walking out of the hall, the 13 experts stopped and landed in front of the hall, staring at that person. Just a bunch of trash. The person who walked out of the hall was Ji Yu Fei. He glanced at the 13 experts and said indifferently, "What?" Jin Xiao was furious. The people behind him were also furious. This guy actually dared to say that they were trash. The Jin clan of the southern imperial city was not a small force. They were the trusted aides of the barbarian emperor. Jin Xiao's position in the Jin clan wasn't low either because he was a divine king expert. He was originally Third Master Man Yarrow's man. Now that Man Yarrow was dead, he naturally had to choose another side. The consequences of choosing the wrong side was very serious. Although Second Master seemed to be an ignorant and incompetent profligate son, he had placed his bet on Second Master. Because First Master Man Xiong had always been suppressing the Jin clan. There's a formation here. The defensive formation of the mansion has been activated. Jin Xiao stared at Ji Yufei, who was standing in the hall, and said coldly, "TSK, so that's the case. Do you dare to come out and fight?" A black-clothed middle-aged man behind Jin Xiao stared at Ji Yufei and said in disdain, "Why wouldn't I dare?" Ji Yufei directly walked out from behind the door. "There's a path to heaven, but you don't want to take it. You want to barge into hell yourself." The black-clothed middle-aged man laughed sinisterly. "TSK, you guys think too highly of yourselves." Ji Yufei shook his head in disdain. "Boss Jin, how about giving this guy to me?" The black-clothed middle-aged man said to Jin Xiao. "All right. Let's see what Uncle Hua can do then." As Jin Xiao spoke, he retreated with the others. At this moment, Uncle Hua's aura changed. This person had a stern aura, and there was a hideous scar on his face that stretched from his forehead to his chin. His gaze was fierce and sinister. "Hihi, little fellow, how do you want to die?" Uncle Hua was very confident because he was a low-level God King. He was several times stronger than the half-step God King Man Yao. Moreover, Uncle Hua's soul-shattering palm was one of the best. Sigh. I wanted to keep a low profile, but there's always someone who won't let me. Ji Yufei sighed. Uncle Hua was so angry that he laughed. This brat actually dared to underestimate him. He really deserved to die. Hurry up and make your move. Otherwise, you won't have the chance to make your move once I make my move. Ji Yufei said impatiently. Is that guy crazy? High up in the sky, the Heaven Witch shaman came out to watch the show again. She had a strange feeling about Ji Yufei, and she always wanted to see him. She even suspected that she was sick. She had never cared about someone so much since she was young. Little fellow, you sure talk big. Uncle Hua laughed sinisterly. He stomped his right foot on the ground, and his entire body shot towards Ji Yufei like an arrow. He extended his right hand and slapped Ji Yufei's chest. Sigh. Boring. Ji Yufei casually waved his right hand and deflected Uncle Hua's palm strike to the side. Then, he performed a heart-piercing kick with his right leg. The tip of his foot ruthlessly kicked Uncle Hua's heart. In the next moment, Uncle Hua let out a blood-curdling scream and was sent flying. When he landed on the ground, he was already dead. Everyone looked and saw that Uncle Hua's heart had caved in. It seemed that his heart had been crushed by Yi Futian's kick. In fact, a crushed heart would not kill Uncle Hua. However, Ji Yufei's kick was different. Not only did it crush Uncle Hua's heart, but it also shattered his primordial spirit. This Uncle Hua could not even be a ghost anymore. When everyone caught sight of this, they were astounded to the extreme. To think that this fella could kick a celestial king to death with a single kick. What were they to do now? Among the 13 of them, only Uncle Hua, Boss Jin, and the one-armed swordsman Qiu Chenjian were there. The rest were either half-step divine kings or heavenly gods. Boss Jin, you go. Everyone retreated at the same time. You guys. Jin Xiao stood at the front alone. He was speechless. These fellas were not reliable at all. Boss Jin, only you are his opponent now. Qiu Chenjian said. Damn you, Qiu Chenjian. Why don't you change your name to Qiu Chenjian? Jin Xiao pointed his middle finger at Qiu Chenjian behind him. Haha, the others burst into laughter. You're not bad. I'll play with you then. Ji Yufei said as he took a step forward and arrived at the center of the square in an instant. Play. Be careful, or you'll lose your life. Jin Xiao also took a step forward and appeared in front of Ji Yufei in an instant. His heavenly skill of Black Tortoise had been cultivated to the 7th level. His body was invulnerable and only divine weapons could hurt him. He was simply a human-shaped killing machine. Ji Yufei did not say anything. He pushed off with both feet and dashed towards Jin Xiao. Behind him, a cloud of dust rose and a piercing sound was heard. The surrounding experts who saw this scene were all shocked to the extreme. This fella, Even Jin Xiao's expression changed at this moment. He became extremely solemn. In the next moment, he activated the heavenly skill of Black Tortoise. A layer of faint golden light appeared on his body, as if he was covered by a golden tortoise shell. He took a deep breath and his body actually grew bigger. Every muscle was vibrating and releasing the tyrannical power of Black Tortoise. The golden tortoise shell that emerged from his body protected him from head to toe. There were no gaps or blind spots. At this moment, Ji Yufei had already rushed in front of Jin Xiao. Roar! Jin Xiao roared and attacked with all his might. He gathered all the strength in his body and punched. Bam! With a muffled sound, Ji Yufei directly collided with Jin Xiao's fist. In the next moment, Jin Xiao's entire arm exploded. He was sent flying for more than 10 meters and rolled on the ground. How is this possible? Jin Xiao struggled to stand up. He stared in disbelief at Ji Yufei, who was walking towards him step by step. How could this fella be so strong? The experts under Jin Xiao were all stunned. Boss Jin had cultivated the heavenly skill of Black Tortoise to the 7th level. He had copper skin and iron bones. Even a great perfection God King couldn't defeat him in one move. However, Ji Yufei only needed one punch to shatter Jin Xiao's right arm and severely injure him. At this moment, Ji Yufei walked in front of Jin Xiao and looked at him indifferently. Jin Xiao was terrified to the extreme. It was as if he had seen a ghost. A God King of the Jin family is only SOSO. Ji Yufei shook his head. He had read Man Yaro's memories and knew about Jin Xiao's origin. He also knew about the situation in the Void Realm. There were 5 great territories and 5 emperors. Every emperor was not simple. They were all known to be invincible. Don't get too full of yourself. My elder brother will definitely take revenge for me. Jin Xiao stared at Ji Yufei and said through gritted teeth. You mean the head of the Jin family, Jin Zhenan? It won't be long before I send him to reunite with you, Ji Yufei said indifferently. What? Jin Xiao was shocked. He spat out a mouthful of blood in his excitement. Ji Yufei didn't waste any more words. He pointed a finger and a ray of sword qi shot out from his finger, piercing through Jin Xiao's head. Jin Xiao's group only regained their senses at this moment. Let's attack together and kill this guy. Jin Xiao was dead, but there were still 11 experts. The one-armed swordsman, Qiu Qianjian, was also a God King. The 11 experts didn't retreat in fear. They knew that if they didn't kill this guy, they wouldn't be able to explain themselves when they returned. Kill. Ji Yufei didn't hesitate. He stomped on the ground and charged towards the 11 experts like an ancient war elephant. The 11 experts were startled and scattered in all directions to hide. Eat my arrow. One of the heavenly god powerhouses, who was dodging, narked an arrow and shot towards Ji Yufei. In the next moment, the sound of something tearing through the air could be heard. Black arrows pierced through the sky and shot towards Ji Yufei like raindrops. Ji Yufei sneered. He waved his hands and the countless arrows were immediately deflected away. They couldn't even touch the corner of his clothes. The Scarlet Guards had actually betrayed Ji Yufei, because the people who were shooting arrows at Ji Yufei from the high walls surrounding the plaza were the Scarlet Guards. Some of the arrows were deflected back, injuring and killing more than a dozen Red Armor Guards standing on top of the wall. Kill. A general immediately ordered the Red Armor Guards. The Red Armor Guards on top of the wall jumped down and charged towards Ji Yufei. Set up the formation, the general roared. In the next moment, dozens of blood-red shields were erected by the Red Armor Guards. They formed a shield formation in front of them and advanced towards Ji Yufei. Ha ha! I'll kill to my heart's content today. Ji Yufei laughed heartily as he charged at the incoming Scarlet Guards. When Ji Yufei reached them, dozens of spears suddenly pierced towards Ji Yufei through the gaps between the shields. The spears in the hands of the Red Armor Guards were made of fine iron and could pierce through steel. However, Ji Yufei completely ignored the sharpness of the spears and rammed head-on into them. Boom! With a loud bang, dozens of shields were smashed into smithereens. The shield-wielding scarlet-armored battle soldiers screamed as they were sent flying. The sharp spears did not even leave a mark on Ji Yufei's body. Chapter 49-25. When the second son of the barbarian emperor, Man Yu, led his men to the barbarian emperor city, the red armor guards that had surrendered to Ji Yu Fei betrayed Ji Yu Fei and attacked the city lord mansion at the most crucial moment. On the square in front of the city lord mansion, Ji Yu Fei killed his way into the battle formation of the red armor guards all by himself. On the walls around the square, everyone who saw this scene could no longer be described as shocked. This Ji Yu Fei actually fought against thousands of red armor guards all by himself. The red armor guards were an elite army that was formed by warriors. They were well trained, and 3,000 red armor warriors were enough to kill a real god. Even a divine king would have a headache when facing a battle formation of 5,000 red armor guards. In the Void Realm, only the invincible emperor would be unafraid of an army. If a divine king encountered an army, it would be fine if it was a small army, but if it was an army of tens of thousands, they would have to kneel. One must know that a general who could command an army of tens of thousands was a divine king. The commander of the 5,000 red armor guards was a half-step divine king, and the 3 deputy commanders were peak heavenly gods. Who was Ji Yu Fei? He naturally knew how terrifying an army was. Those immortal dynasties in the mortal world had millions of troops. Such a force, even immortals would have to kneel in front of them. Although there were only 5,000 red armor guards in the barbarian emperor city, it was enough to sweep through the entire barbarian emperor city. Even the strongest tribe in the barbarian emperor city wouldn't dare to go to war with them. But now, Ji Yu Fei had killed his way into this army. With a sweep of his hand, a dazzling saber light shot out from his hand, reaching a height of 10 feet in an instant. The dozens of crimson-armored warriors in front of him were sliced in half. With a backhand slap, he sent another dozen or so crimson-armored warriors flying. Then, he leaped into the air and stomped another crimson-armored warrior into the ground. Ji Yu Fei was like a tiger in a flock of sheep. With a wave of his hand, a large number of red armor warriors were either killed or injured. In just a few seconds, hundreds of red armor warriors were killed by him. At this moment, the leader of the red-armored warriors was truly scared out of his wits. He had never seen such a powerful person who could actually fight against an entire army by himself. Could it be that he was an emperor? Retreat! Hurry up and retreat! The commander of the red-armored warriors immediately gave the order to retreat. How were they supposed to fight against this guy? This guy was invulnerable. Even when swords, spears, swords, and halberds hit him, they couldn't even leave a mark on him. It's too late. Go to hell! Ji Yu Fei roared and charged towards the commander. Wherever he passed, he was like a stampede of an ancient elephant. All the crimson-armored warriors in his way were sent flying. Those red-armored warriors who were sent flying by Ji Yu Fei were either dead or injured. Countless of them were lying on the ground, screaming in pain. As for Ji Yu Fei, he directly rushed up to the leader of the crimson-armored battle troopers. With a swing of his hand, the crimson-armored battle troopers' head flew into the air. Ji Yu Fei was like a peerless god of death that had descended into the world. In less than a dozen breaths' time, he had actually slaughtered an army of 5,000 people. This caused the eyes of the one-armed swordsman Qiu Chenjian and the other 11 experts to almost fall out of their sockets. They looked at this scene in disbelief. Run! Seeing that Ji Yu Fei had killed their commander and that the crimson-armored battle troopers were defeated, the remaining battle troopers were scared out of their wits and immediately fled in all directions. Ji Yu Fei fiercely took a deep breath. All the primordial energy in his body surged like a raging sea. Powerful primordial energy rippled out from his body, causing the surrounding sand and stones to fly and the sun and moon to dim. 9 heaven punishing swords, 9 heaven punishing sword. Ji Yu Fei exhaled and shouted. In the next moment, a torrential storm of sword chi rushed out from his body and slashed in all directions. The crimson-armored battle troopers that were fleeing in all directions all fell to the ground with scarlet blood splattering from their bodies. With Ji Yu Fei at the center, everything within a radius of 100 meters seemed to have been blown by a storm. It was a mess, and the ground was covered in sword slashes. Ji Yu Fei's attack had directly killed off most of the crimson-armored battle troopers. There was no one left alive within 100 meters of him. The 9 heaven punishing swords was an extreme way technique. Its might was naturally extremely shocking. Run! Qiu Chenjian was the first to turn around and flee. This guy's way of the sword was far above his own. If he stayed, he would be courting death. Since he, a God King Sword King, had fled, the others naturally did not dare to stay. However, Ji Yufei did not plan on letting them go. Also, where had the young man who had ordered to kill him disappeared? Ji Yufei did not stop. He directly charged towards the fleeing Qiu Chenjian and the others. He killed his way out of the square, out of the city lord's residence, and out of the streets. This guy is too crazy. High up in the sky, the heaven shaman priest and his maidservant were stunned when they saw this scene. Ji Yufei had single-handedly defeated 5,000 crimson-armored battle troopers. He had also killed the experts that Man Yu had brought with him. Ji Yufei had killed Jin Xiao with a single finger. Moreover, he had single-handedly defeated 5,000 crimson-armored battle troopers. After the news spread, the barbarian emperor city was instantly in an uproar. Everyone was shocked to the extreme. Who would have thought, Master is actually so powerful? The Wu family patriarch and Mo family patriarch who rushed over after hearing the news were stunned. The last move that Ji Yufei had displayed was definitely an extremely overbearing killing move. Even the heaven shaman priest had never seen such an overbearing killing move. Very quickly, Ji Yufei killed his way out of the barbarian emperor city, leaving behind many corpses along the way. He chased and killed all the remaining crimson-armored battle troopers. Among the 11 experts that came with Qiu Chenjian, 5 of them died in his hands. Ji Yufei had been chasing Qiu Chenjian and the others all the way to a stronghold 10 miles away. This stronghold wasn't small. It was the place where a tribe was located. This tribe was called the Heaven Fire Tribe. The Heaven Fire Tribe was located in the mountains. At this time, there should have been smoke rising from the chimneys of the tribe. But now, the entire stronghold was very quiet, so quiet that it was frightening. The Heaven Fire Tribe was a tribe that one had to pass through in order to reach the barbarian emperor city. This tribe was originally controlled by Man Yaro's forces, but now that Man Yaro had been killed by Ji Yufei, this tribe seemed to be in trouble. Ji Yufei saw that outside the entrance of the stronghold, there were more than 10 corpses hanging on the trees on both sides. A gust of wind blew, and these corpses immediately swayed. These corpses hanging on the trees should be the people of the Heaven Fire Tribe. The stronghold of the Heaven Fire Tribe had become an empty stronghold. Someone had driven away all the people of the Heaven Fire Tribe. Bam! As soon as Ji Yufei entered the stronghold, he was attacked. With a backhand palm, he pushed back an old man with white hair and beard. The old man held his chest and staggered, a trace of blood seeping out of the corner of his mouth. Sneak attack me? You must be tired of living. Ji Yufei stared at the old man and said coldly. I didn't expect so many experts to be hidden in such a small tribe. Ji Yufei looked around and saw one figure after another coming out of the stronghold. Each of them had a powerful fluctuation of yuan qi. The old man stared coldly at Ji Yufei and said indifferently, I also didn't expect that the person who chased after my young master would be so young. Elder Xian, this person killed your entire family. Why are you still talking nonsense with him? At this time, from the corner in front, a young man in black walked out. He looked drunk and carried a jar of wine in his hand. This person was the second son of the barbarian emperor, Man Yu. Young master, this guy is not simple. The old man called Elder Xian said. Aren't you talking nonsense? If he was simple, then I wouldn't need to use all of you. Man Yu said angrily. At this moment, the one-armed swordsman, Qiu Chenjian, appeared behind Ji Yufei. So you're the fish that escaped the net from the barbarian emperor city's Xian clan. Ji Yufei looked at the old man and said. Little fellow, die. The old man snorted coldly, and then he attacked Ji Yufei. At the same time, the one-armed swordsman, Qiu Chenjian, who was behind Ji Yufei, made his move. He pulled out the ancient sword on his back and stabbed it at Ji Yufei's back. Qiu Chenjian's sword was very fast and accurate. At the moment when the tip of Qiu Chenjian's sword was about to touch Ji Yufei moved to the side, took a step forward, and directly punched at Elder Xian. Bam! Catcher. Ji Yufei's fist smashed onto Elder Xian's chest from an inconceivable angle, and the sound of bones breaking resounded. The clothes on Elder Xian's back were instantly blasted apart, and a fist mark appeared on his body. His entire chest caved in, and his chest was pressed against his back. At this moment, Elder Xian's expression instantly became extremely terrified. He looked at Ji Yufei as if he had seen a ghost, and his face was filled with disbelief. You! Elder Xian wanted to say something, but at this moment, a strand of blood surged up his throat. In the end, he couldn't say his last words, and he fell straight down. Man Yu's pupils couldn't help but constrict when he saw this scene. At this moment, Qiu Qianjian couldn't help but turn pale with fright when he saw Ji Yufei kill Elder Xian with a single punch, and he hurriedly withdrew his sword and retreated. Can't even withstand a single blow. Ji Yufei shook his head. Being invincible is so lonely. Attack together and exhaust him to death. Man Yu directly ordered. Kill. Countless experts in the stronghold immediately attacked Ji Yufei like a tide. These people were all Man Yu's subordinates. He pretended to be a profligate young master and frequently lingered in places of pleasure, but he was secretly cultivating his own forces. In order to ensure that nothing goes wrong, Man Yu had secretly brought his trusted subordinates to the barbarian Emperor city. He wanted to take advantage of this opportunity to take over barbarian Emperor city and become the local tyrant. However, no one had expected that Ji Yufei was actually so strong. He didn't fear any opponent, and he even chased Qiu Qianjian and the others all the way here by himself. Come at me! Ji Yufei shouted loudly, and he actually directly killed his way into the crowd. Seeing how brave Ji Yufei was, the second son of barbarian emperor, Man Yu, quietly retreated. Chapter 49-26. Kill. In the Heaven Fire tribe, following Man Yu's order, countless experts in the surroundings didn't hesitate. They immediately roared and charged at Ji Yufei from all directions. Ji Yufei indifferently glanced at these guys. In the next moment, his right foot stomped on the ground. Bang! The ground under his foot immediately shattered. At the same time, he rushed forward like an arrow. Bang! Ji Yufei directly collided with a tall and sturdy guy who was the first to rush over. In the next moment, that guy was directly sent flying by the violent impact. Sounds of bones breaking could be heard from his body. Bang! He directly smashed through a stone house like a cannonball. The stone house collapsed, and that guy was buried under the rubble. No one knew whether he was dead or alive. What? The other experts were all shocked when they saw this. At this moment, Ji Yufei was like a fierce tiger that had entered a flock of sheep. With a palm, he smashed the head of an expert into his chest. With a shoulder strike, another expert was directly sent flying while vomiting blood. It seemed that he wouldn't be able to survive. Then, he stretched out his hand and grabbed a saber. With a flash of the saber, 2 heads flew. Then, he swept his right leg and directly kicked 2 experts, breaking their tendons and bones. It seemed that they weren't far from death. In just an instant, with just a few flicks of his fingers, Ji Yufei killed 4 experts and heavily injured 2 others. In addition to the one who died with a single punch, there were already 7 experts who had died in Ji Yufei's hands. This time, Man Yu brought a lot of people. Moreover, these subordinates of Man Yu were at least at the divine spirit realm, and the strongest ones were even divine kings. However, in front of Ji Yufei, these guys were really too weak. Originally, he thought that he could meet a few experts to play with. Who would have thought that they couldn't even withstand 1 or 2 of his moves? This kind of one-sided massacre made Ji Yufei somewhat unhappy. At this time, Ji Yufei was still holding the saber that was still dripping blood, coldly looking at Man Yu who was retreating. This guy, everyone else was stunned by Ji Yufei's bravery. They were all scared silly by this scene. No wonder this fellow dared to kill Man Yao. No wonder he dared to go against the barbarian sovereign. He's truly capable. He's too strong. This group of people were death warriors nurtured by Man Yu, and they only listened to Man Yu's orders. The expert in the lead was called Tu Xiangshan. He stared fixedly at Ji Yufei, and his pupils couldn't help but contract. The battle prowess displayed by Ji Yufei had far exceeded his expectations. Come and die. Ji Yufei crooked his finger at Tu Xiangshan and said coldly. A cold killing intent emanated from his body, and the surrounding temperature quickly dropped. What a strong killing intent! Tu Xiangshan was once again shocked. Only those devils who were numb to killing could erupt with such a powerful killing intent. This guy was too young. Even though he was shocked, he wasn't someone to be trifled with. His expression turned cold. In the next moment, he exerted force with his legs and charged towards Ji Yufei. At the same time, he stretched out his right hand and slapped towards Ji Yufei. Tu Xiangshan's palm actually turned pitch black, and when it arrived before Ji Yufei, it was so black that it seemed like ink was about to drip out. Black killing hand? Ji Yufei spoke indifferently. This Tu Xiangshan actually cultivated the black killing hand, an evil cultivation technique. No wonder he was able to move unhindered in the barbarian emperor city for tens of years. Ji Yufei directly slashed with his saber. Clang! The saber in his hand was immediately broken into two. It was actually broken by Tu Xiangshan's strength. After Tu Xiangshan broke the saber in Ji Yufei's hand, he continued slapping towards Ji Yufei. Ji Yufei hurriedly threw away the broken saber in his hand, and then he clenched his fist and smashed it towards Tu Xiangshan's black palm. Bang! Ji Yufei's fist instantly collided with Tu Xiangshan's black palm, producing a dull thunder-like sound. A powerful wave of yuan qi immediately spread out in all directions with the two of them as the center. The leaves on the ground were fiercely swept up into the sky and danced in the air. How is this possible? Tu Xiangshan was shocked. Ji Yufei could actually block his black killing hand? Roar! Tu Xiangshan bellowed furiously, and an even more powerful black baleful aura erupted from his hand. In the next moment, his entire fist turned black and red in color. This black killing hand was extremely poisonous, and it could corrode a martial artist's muscles, bones, and flesh. If one was hit by Tu Xiangshan's palm, even a divine king would die. Ha ha! You are dead for sure. Tu Xiangshan laughed sinisterly. Is that so? Ji Yufei stared at Tu Xiangshan with a faint smile and said indifferently. This, Tu Xiangshan saw that there was a faint blood qi overflowing from Ji Yufei's hand. This time, he was really moved. Ji Yufei could actually force out his black killing poison. Tu Xiangshan wanted to activate his black killing hand again, but at this moment, he only felt that the power of Ji Yufei's fist was like a volcanic eruption, and it was unstoppable. In the next moment, Tu Xiangshan only heard the sound of bones breaking, and he was directly sent flying. Ji Yufei took a step forward, and instantly caught up to Tu Xiangshan, who was flying backwards. Then, he punched out with his fist, and an explosive sound immediately resounded in the air. This was the sound of the fist moving at high speed, and it shook the air. It was enough to show how fast Ji Yufei's fist was. Bang! A muffled sound was followed by Tu Xiangshan's miserable scream. With a bang, he actually directly smashed through the wall, and fell outside the stronghold. Everyone was stunned by this scene, especially those subordinates of Tu Xiangshan. Tu Xiangshan fiercely stood up from the ground. One could see that his chest was badly mutilated, and someone actually punched through his chest. Everyone was indescribably shocked. Just now, Ji Yufei's fist had actually directly punched through Tu Xiangshan's body. Punching through the martial body of a warrior at the great success realm of marrow purification, how much power did this require? Tu Xiangshan stared at Ji Yufei in extreme fear. He wanted to say something, but at this moment, he was unable to say anything. Like an ant, Ji Yufei looked indifferently at Tu Xiangshan. After Tu Xiangshan heard this sentence from Ji Yufei, his life was completely cut off, and he fell straight down. This time, he could no longer stand up. Even at the moment of his death, he never thought that he would die at the hands of Ji Yufei. Attack together, what are you still standing there for? The one-armed swordsman, Qiu Qianjian, shouted loudly, and he himself also attacked Ji Yufei. This was a divine king of the way of the sword. Once this guy attacked, sword qi instantly swept across, and it was difficult for others to interfere. However, even though they knew that they were no match for him, they still attacked Ji Yufei. Chapter 49-27. In the Heaven Fire tribe, a few miles away from the barbarian emperor city, Ji Yufei was fighting against over 100 experts. These experts were the subordinates of the second son of the barbarian emperor, Man Yu. This was an underground force that he had secretly nurtured over the years. Man Yu pretended to be crazy, but he wasn't stupid. He was a profligate son of a rich family that lingered in the brothels for others to see. As the second son of the barbarian emperor, he still had his elder brother, Man Xiong, and Man Xiong's battle achievements were something that he couldn't hope to reach. Man Xiong was the first successor of the barbarian emperor. As for his third brother, Man Yarrow, he was an arrogant and unruly person. He had many tricks up his sleeves, and Man Yarrow's influence was much greater than Man Yu's. Under such circumstances, Man Yu could only pretend to be crazy because if he displayed outstanding intelligence, he would probably be suppressed by his elder brother and third brother. It was also because of these years of pretending that Man Yu was able to secretly nurture his own force. At this moment, Man Yu's subordinates attacked Ji Yufei like madmen. "Come, I'll send you on your way together." Ji Yufei's battle blood was boiling. He punched out, and a violent fist force of the 5 elements burst out from his hand, directly blasting away the 3 experts that were attacking him. The 3 experts coughed up blood in the air and fell to the ground. They slid on the ground for several feet before stopping. Everyone was shocked and furious when they saw Ji Yufei being so ferocious. Sword from the west. The one-armed swordsman, Qiu Qianjian, roared and attacked with all his strength. The sword in his hand emitted a sword hum, and the resplendent sword light was like a dragon that flew towards Ji Yufei. "What sword from the west? I'll send you to the west." Ji Yufei simply ignored Qiu Qianjian's sharp sword light. He punched the sword light, and the powerful fist force directly blasted the sword light away. Qiu Qianjian suffered a great impact, and he screamed and retreated. However, Ji Yufei followed him like a shadow and punched at Qiu Qianjian again. Ji Yufei's fist force was extremely powerful. Even a divine monarch would die if he was hit by it. Qiu Qianjian hurriedly blocked with both hands. Bang! Crack! Ji Yufei's punch landed directly on Qiu Qianjian's arms, which he had used to protect himself. In the next moment, the bones in his arms were shattered by the fist force. The sound of bones breaking was clearly transmitted to the ears of the people around them. Qiu Qianjian screamed and was sent flying. At the same time, the other experts also attacked Ji Yufei. Ji Yufei punched and kicked, sending people flying and killing them one after another. He was like a grim reaper that had emerged from hell, harvesting the lives of the martial arts experts around him. These experts that thought that were very powerful were powerful, but in front of Ji Yufei Ji sect. Before long, the surroundings of Ji Yufei were littered with corpses. At this time, Ji Yufei's body actually emitted a ball of resplendent aura. This guy, Man Yu, who had already quietly retreated far away, was stunned when he saw this scene. This was an underground force that he spent countless efforts to establish. Now, every time Ji Yufei killed someone, he felt incomparable heartache. Bang! Boom! Crack! The sound of essence energy colliding and the sound of bones shattering rang out continuously. Wherever Ji Yufei passed, no one could contend against him. Not a single one. He directly charged towards the place where Man Yu was. This way, everyone could not sit still anymore. All of them charged towards Ji Yufei like crazy. Each move was a method of exchanging life for life. Because if Man Yu was killed, they would all be buried with him. "Ha ha! Are you in a hurry to reincarnate?" Ji Yufei laughed as he made his move. He grabbed the saber of an expert that was slashing towards him, and then he used force to break it. Then, he stabbed the broken saber into that person's body. At the same time, he kicked out and sent a huge man flying into the crowd. Instantly, there was chaos. Ji Yufei made his move swiftly. Then, the unlucky ones were Man Yu's subordinates. They were either dead or injured. Man Yu directly turned around and fled. "Where do you think you're going?" Ji Yufei did his best to charge forward. However, at this moment, a fist silently blasted onto Ji Yufei's back. This punch directly caused Ji Yufei to fly forward. "Go to hell!" An expert wielding a saber ruthlessly slashed at Ji Yufei, who was pouncing at him. This saber actually ruthlessly slashed onto Ji Yufei's body. In the next moment, the saber that slashed onto Ji Yufei's body actually rebounded and almost flew out of his hand. What? That expert was quite frightened by this scene. Damn it! Ji Yufei was furious. Someone actually plotted against him. When he landed on the ground, he immediately steadied himself. He turned around and saw that the person who sneak attacked him was actually an unremarkable middle-aged man. You actually didn't die after taking a punch from me? That middle-aged man was also shocked. This guy was a peak god king. His great yin divine fist was extremely powerful. Moreover, the great yin cold chi was incomparably powerful. Those who were hit by his fist would be directly frozen into an ice sculpture by the great yin cold chi. Great Yin Divine Fist, Handong. When the one-armed swordsman Qiu Chenjian saw that middle-aged man, his eyes instantly lit up. He didn't expect that even this guy would submit to Man Yu. Kill. At this moment, countless figures once again charged towards Ji Yufei. All of you, die for me. Ji Yufei became ruthless. He roared furiously and countless incomparably sharp sword chi erupted from his body. In the next moment, countless sword lights rushed out from his body and penetrated in all directions. After that, countless blood mists suddenly appeared. In just an instant, with Ji Yufei as the center, everyone within a radius of 60 feet was penetrated by the sword chi. The result of being penetrated by the sword chi was only death. More than half of those who besieged Ji Yufei actually collapsed in an instant. When Man Yu, who had fled far away, saw this scene, his heart was dripping blood. He gritted his teeth and directly soared into the sky. If he didn't flee now, he wouldn't be able to escape anymore. An ant is an ant, and you still want to kill a giant dragon? Simply laughable. Ji Yufei stood proudly and coldly swept his gaze across the surrounding people. Those who could survive under his great killing move weren't simple. There was a total of 5 people. 5 great god kings. Just thinking about it made one's scalp numb. At this moment, Ji Yufei was surrounded by 5 great god kings. The aura that erupted from each god king was extremely tyrannical. Even Ji Yufei had no choice but to become serious at this moment. Who exactly are you? Qiu Chenjian held his divine sword and stared at Ji Yufei. This guy was so young and so powerful. His background was probably shocking. Why don't the 5 of you follow me? What future do you have by following that Man Yu? Ji Yufei suddenly grinned and said such words. What? Chapter 49-28. Ji Yufei chased after Man Yu, killing his way out of Barbarian Emperor City and into Heaven Fire Tribe's territory. However, the entire Heaven Fire Tribe's encampment was empty. Not a single person from Heaven Fire Tribe could be seen. And here, Ji Yufei encountered an ambush. These people were the subordinates that Man Yu, the second son of Barbarian Emperor, had secretly nurtured. They were an underground force under his complete control. However, after this battle, this force in Man Yu's hands was completely destroyed by Ji Yufei. Most of Man Yu's subordinates were killed by Ji Yufei. At this moment, even Man Yu had fled. Only 5 great God King level experts surrounded Ji Yufei. The 5 God Kings were led by Qiu Chenjian, the Lunar Divine Fist Handong, a God King level tree demon, and a short, skinny, black-robed old man who looked like a ghost. The last person was a burly man who carried a huge saber. The skinny old man was a Ghost King of the Ghost Clan, and the strong man carrying the large blade was Blade King Luo Lai. The auras of these 5 great God Kings were incomparably powerful. When the 5 of them joined forces, even Ji Yufei had to be serious. The 5 of you are not bad. Why don't you follow me? Facing the 5 great God Kings, Ji Yufei was still calm. What, you? When the 5 great God Kings heard this, they were shocked and angry. This guy actually wanted them to betray Man Yu? Man Yu was the second son of Man Emperor. In southern Man country, his status was incomparably noble. Wanting them to betray Man Yu was not an easy thing. Because behind Man Yu was Man Emperor. If you don't follow me, then I can only send you to reincarnate. Ji Yufei shook his head regretfully. Che. Qiu Qianjian sneered, "You think you can defeat the 5 of us? Stop joking." He was very confident. Haha, could it be that this guy was scared silly by us? The Saber King laughed heartily. "Why are you still talking so much nonsense? Kill." The Ghost King let out a strange cry and immediately turned into an afterimage, directly pouncing towards Ji Yufei with extreme speed. A bunch of idiots who don't know life from death. Ji Yufei was really speechless. These guys really won't shed a tear until they see the coffin. He threw a punch at the Ghost King who was charging at him. A violent fist force exploded from his fist, and the surrounding sand and stones were sent flying. The Ghost King's movement technique was extremely strange. Like a ghost, it suddenly appeared behind Ji Yufei, and a pair of sharp claws directly grabbed at Ji Yufei's back. Ji Yufei stamped his feet on the ground and shot up into the sky. At the same time, a sword hum rang out. Qiu Qianjian made his move. Resplendent swordlight pierced through the air and directly rushed towards Ji Yufei. A gust of cold sword chi spread out. Swoosh! The tree demon also attacked. A thorny vine shot out like a snake towards Ji Yufei. Kill! The Blade King Luo Lai held the broadsword he was carrying with both hands and slashed at Ji Yufei with all his might. Han Dong, the Divine Moon Fist, also attacked. A huge fist shadow rushed out from his right fist and blasted directly at Ji Yufei. The power of the Divine Moon Fist spread out, causing snowflakes to fall from the void. The 5 God Kings attacked at the same time, and a powerful force enveloped Ji Yufei. Ha! Ji Yufei laughed loudly. In the next moment, a chaotic power erupted from his body. All the attacks that were coming at him were drawn away by him, and then he attacked the 5 God Kings. Qiu Qianjian's swordlight, which was originally aimed at Ji Yufei, was now directed towards the tree demon. The tree demon's vines, on the other hand, were moving towards the Ghost King. The Ghost King was drawn away by the chaotic power, and it involuntarily lunged towards the Blade King Luo Lai. There was also Han Dong's Lunar Divine Fist. His Lunar Divine Fist was directed by Ji Yufei towards the Blade King Luo Lai. What? The 5 God Kings were dumbfounded. What kind of magic was this? How did he do it? Qiu Qianjian and the others immediately attacked each other. They were in a mess. However, Ji Yufei took advantage of this opportunity to attack in an instant. He punched the Ghost King's back, and the Ghost King was sent flying forward, smashing through the wall and into a stone house. The people of the Heaven Fire tribe also built their houses with stone, just like the people of the Black Mountain tribe. The stone houses built with stone were very sturdy and not easily destroyed. However, they could not withstand the rampage of a God King. The other 4 God Kings were shocked when they saw this. A sword from the west. Qiu Qianjian attacked with all his strength. The devastating swordlight illuminated the world, and it was incomparably dazzling. An unprecedentedly powerful wave of sword chi erupted from his body. "You dare to play with the sword in front of me?" Ji Yufei sneered. He used his finger as a sword and pointed out, accurately hitting the tip of Qiu Qianjian's sword. In the next moment, Qiu Qianjian felt his hand shake. The divine sword in his hand flew out of his hand, and he felt a sharp pain in his palm. He hurriedly retreated, then looked down and saw that his hand that was holding the sword was already dripping with blood. Ji Yufei's right hand grabbed at the swordlight that flew out of Qiu Qianjian's hand. The swordlight immediately flew towards him, and he caught it in his hand. Hum! The divine sword in Ji Yufei's hand let out a buzzing sound. In the next moment, Ji Yufei shook the divine sword in his hand. Then, Qiu Qianjian saw a shocking scene that he would never forget for the rest of his life. He saw streams of immortal swordlight rush out of Ji Yufei's hand, piercing towards Qiu Qianjian and the others. The countless vines that rushed out of the tree demon's body were directly severed. The indestructible swordlight directly pierced through the tree demon's body. The Lunar Divine Fist, Han Dong, was also struck by the swordlight, and his left arm flew off. Saber Monarch Luo Lai waved the large saber in his hand crazily, slashing at the swordlight that pierced through him. Clang! In the next moment, the 100 Battles saber in Saber Monarch Luo Lai's hand was actually split into 2 by the swordlight. Although Qiu Qianjian dodged quickly, he was still swept by the swordlight that pierced through him. A sword wound so deep that bones could be seen appeared on his back. With just one move, Ji Yufei had heavily injured the 4 godly monarchs. This kind of battle prowess, this kind of cultivation, this kind of terrifying swordsmanship was enough to make the 4 godly monarchs feel despair. They felt that they could not be defeated. Defeating the godly monarchs with one move, Ji Yufei was extremely domineering. At this moment, the ghost monarch that had been blasted into the stone house by Ji Yufei crawled out. "You are actually a sword Dao powerhouse?" Qiu Qianjian stared at Ji Yufei in horror, his voice trembling as he spoke. "I only know a little." Ji Yufei stood with his sword and said indifferently, "What, a little?" When Qiu Qianjian heard this, he was so angry that he spat out a mouthful of blood. "If this is a little, then doesn't that mean that the sword Dao that I have cultivated my entire life hasn't even crossed the threshold?" The other godly monarchs were also speechless. "All right, I'll give you one more chance. Follow me, or die. You decide." Ji Yufei held his sword behind his back and glanced at the 5 godly monarchs as he spoke indifferently. This. Chapter 49-29. Ji Yufei defeated the 5 godly kings with a single strike. He was domineering to the extreme. However, the 5 godly kings were in despair. However, they still had a chance. That was, Ji Yufei had given them another chance. As long as they were willing to surrender and submit, Ji Yufei would let them live. "You want us to submit to you?" Qiu Qianjian stared at Ji Yufei and said. "That's right. Following me is better than following the second son of the barbarian emperor. Because following me is much more promising than following that guy." Ji Yufei nodded and said. He wanted to nurture his own forces in the Void Realm, conquer the barbarian emperor city, and then subdue the 5 godly kings. This was the first step in his bid to dominate the Void Realm. "You want me to submit to you? Dream on." The Ghost King let out a strange cry and immediately turned into a wisp of black smoke that soared into the sky, wanting to escape. "You're courting death." Ji Yufei's right hand was like a sword as he slashed out. A destructive swordlight that made Qiu Qianjian and the rest shiver directly slashed the wisp of black smoke. They only heard a scream before the wisp of black smoke dissipated. A black shadow fell from the sky, twitched a few times, and then stopped breathing. The 4 godly kings who witnessed this scene were all stunned. This guy actually killed the Ghost King with a single strike. That was a Ghost King, but he died under this guy's sword just like that. "If I submit to you, what's in it for me?" Qiu Qianjian stared at Ji Yufei with incomparable seriousness. "Haha, you're really direct." Ji Yufei laughed. "If you submit to me, you'll be able to reach a higher level on the path of the sword." Ji Yufei stopped smiling and said to Qiu Qianjian very seriously. He had long seen that Qiu Qianjian was a pure sword Dao cultivator. "All right. Today, I, Qiu Qianjian, will serve you as my master." Qiu Qianjian pays his respects to master. Qiu Qianjian directly knelt down in front of Ji Yufei. "I'll bestow you with a sword technique." As Ji Yufei spoke, he pointed with his finger. A beam of divine light rushed out from his finger and instantly entered Qiu Qianjian's glabella. In the next moment, Qiu Qianjian felt something appear in his mind. He quickly closed his eyes to comprehend it and a sword technique appeared in his mind. This sword technique only had a few thousand words, but it instantly captivated Qiu Qianjian. It was as if he was intoxicated as he read it. Countless difficult problems of the sword Dao that had troubled him felt as if they had been easily solved. The remaining Treant monarch, Saber Sovereign Luo Lai, and Divine Lunar Fist Han Dong did not dare to hesitate. They immediately knelt down toward Ji Yufei and accepted Ji Yufei as their master. At this moment, the injuries on the 4 great godly kings were rapidly healing. The physical bodies of godly kings were incomparably powerful, and their recovery speed was also very shocking. "Follow me back to Barbarian Emperor City. It's time to clear up some of the powers in the city." Ji Yufei soared into the sky with a murderous aura and flew toward Man Huangcheng. The 4 great godly kings quickly chased after him. At this moment, in a valley a few hundred miles away, 2 figures were standing under a huge tree, panting heavily. They were the second son of barbarian emperor, Man Yu, and the other was an old servant in green. That guy is so powerful. Third brother's death is not unjust. Man Yu sighed. If it wasn't for their quick escape, both of them would have died under the opponent's fist today. Young master, what should we do now? The old servant in green said. What else can we do? Let's return to South Imperial City first. Man Yu had no other ideas. He just wanted to return to South Imperial City. To him, South Imperial City was the safest place. Ien, that's the only way. Let's go. Man Yu said and soared into the sky again, rushing towards South Imperial City. At this moment, Barbarian Emperor City fell into chaos again. The betrayal of the Red Armor Guards made Ji Yufei furious. Moreover, after he killed his way out of Barbarian Emperor City, someone actually attacked Tian Yuan and the other three great gods. Two of the four great gods, Tian Yuan, Hu Xiong, and Jin Shi, were killed by those guys who betrayed Ji Yufei in Barbarian Emperor City. Only Tian Yuan and Hu Xiong were holding on. All of you, die obediently. Ch, don't expect your master to come back to save you. Your master can't even protect himself now. The experts of Wu and Mo clan who betrayed Ji Yufei forced Tian Yuan and Hu Xiong to an open space in the west of Barbarian Emperor City. You guys, Tian Yuan and Hu Xiong were shocked and angry. They never thought that Wu and Mo clan would betray their master so quickly. They were simply fence-sitters. Heh, no one can save you today. Die. The patriarch of Wu and Mo clan led the experts of their respective clans towards Tian Yuan and Hu Xiong. Is that so? Just at this moment, a cold voice came from the horizon. When they heard this voice, Tian Yuan and Hu Xiong were surprised and happy, but the patriarch of Wu and Mo clan turned pale with fright. They raised their heads and saw a figure appear in the horizon, and it was rapidly approaching them. It's Ji Yufei? How can it be? The patriarch of Wu clan was so scared that his legs were trembling. The reason they dared to betray Ji Yufei was because they had long been in contact with Man Yu, the second son of Barbarian Emperor. Otherwise, why would the Red Armor Guards change sides at the critical moment? It was because they knew that Man Yu had brought his group of incomparably powerful subordinates to Barbarian Emperor City that the Wu and Mo clan had the courage to rebel against Ji Yufei. Now that Ji Yufei had returned, there was no need to ask, the unlucky one must be Man Yu. This time, it was Man Yu who caused our deaths. The face of Mo clan's patriarch was ashen. They saw that Ji Yufei did not return alone. There were still 4 great experts following behind him, and every one of them burst out with an incomparably powerful divine king aura. Among the 5 divine kings under Man Yu, 4 were actually subdued by Ji Yufei. Thinking of this, the patriarchs of Wu and Mo clan despaired. No one would have thought that Man Yu brought such a powerful expert to annihilate Ji Yufei, but it actually ended in failure. Was Man Yu really a good-for-nothing? Master, spare me. The patriarch of Wu clan directly knelt on the ground and kowtowed to Ji Yufei who had already arrived in the sky. Master, spare me. It's all because of this old Wu who threatened and lured me. That's why I was blinded by lard and did such a thing. The patriarch of Mo clan directly wanted to push all the blame onto the patriarch of Wu clan. What, old Mo, it was obviously you and Man Yu who came to my door and forced me to betray Master. Now you want to bite back? The patriarch of Wu clan was shocked and said hurriedly, "All right, still acting in front of me?" Ji Yufei was impatient. "Master, it's not an act. You have to believe me." The patriarchs of Mo clan and Wu clan were trembling as they knelt on the ground and pleaded bitterly. "Kill them all, don't leave a single one alive." Ji Yufei directly ordered. "Yes, Master." Chapter 49:30. Man Yu, the second son of Barbarian Emperor, had some ability. This time, he brought countless experts to attack Barbarian Emperor City, wanting to kill the madmen of the Black Mountain tribe. However, even though Man Yu's plan was very thorough, he was still defeated in the end. All his subordinates were killed by Ji Yufei. Qiu Qianjian and the other 3 divine kings were defeated by Ji Yufei and surrendered to Ji Yufei. Just as Tian Yuan and the rest were about to be killed by the family heads of the Wu family and the Mo family in the city, Ji Yufei returned. Ji Yufei killed his way back to Barbarian Emperor City. Then, everyone was dumbfounded. No one thought that Ji Yufei could actually defeat Man Yu. When the Wu and Mo clans' patriarchs saw Ji Yufei coming back, they were so scared that they almost peed their pants. They immediately knelt on the ground and begged Ji Yufei to spare their lives. Kill. Leave no one alive. Ji Yufei ordered. Yes, Master. The 4 divine kings under Ji Yufei received the order at the same time. Then, tragedy befell the Wu and Mo clan. It was useless to beg for mercy. What Ji Yufei hated the most was betrayal. He had zero tolerance for betrayal. Therefore, the Wu clan's patriarch was punched into a bloody mist by Han Dong, while the Mo clan's patriarch was stomped to death by the Treant Demon King. Then, all those who participated in the rebellion were killed by Ji Yufei, leaving no one alive. However, he spared those who didn't participate in the rebellion. Therefore, the Wu and Mo clan weren't exterminated. Even if they weren't exterminated, these 2 clans were completely finished. Ji Yufei suppressed the rebellion of the Barbarian Emperor City with the force of a thunderbolt. At this time, Ji Yufei discovered an interesting thing, and that was that no one from the heavenly Magus Palace actually stood out to intervene. In this rebellion, the attitude of Heaven Witch Palace was very strange. They didn't help Man Yu, and they didn't help Ji Yufei either. They were like bystanders who had nothing to do with this matter. The position of the sorcerer tribe in the south was very special because the sorcerer tribe had lost their ruling power over the south. In this way, if there was any turmoil in the south, the barbarian emperor's ruling power would be the first to be affected. Moreover, the most important thing was that even though the sorcerer tribe had submitted to the barbarian emperor, it wasn't complete submission. The sorcerer tribe's submission was conditional. Because in the battle between the shaman emperor and the barbarian emperor, the shaman emperor had only been defeated, but not killed. It was rumored that the shaman emperor was recuperating in a secret place within the boundless mountain ridges of the southern barbaric lands. The barbarian emperor also knew that leaving the shaman emperor alive was a huge hidden danger. But at that time, he was also heavily injured. Even if he wanted to kill the shaman emperor, he didn't have the strength to do so. It was also because the shaman emperor was still alive that the barbarian emperor did not dare to exterminate the sorcerer tribe. However, the barbarian emperor had always been suppressing the sorcerer tribe, and the sorcerer tribe had chosen to endure it. Now, there was actually someone in the southern barbaric lands who dared to go against the barbarian emperor. To the sorcerer tribe, this was absolutely a good thing. They didn't have to do anything and only cared about watching the show. Moreover, the Heaven Magus Palace also didn't dare to interfere in Ji Yufei's matters. After a few days of purging, the entire barbarian emperor city gradually calmed down. The Crimson Armored Guards were all annihilated, and Ji Yufei rebuilt the Black Armored Guards. Ji Yufei had absolute control over the 4 great divine kings because he had placed a restriction on the 4 great divine kings. Once he discovered that they had betrayed him, he only needed a thought to annihilate the 4 great divine kings in body and soul. With the 4 great divine kings holding down the fort in the barbarian emperor city, the current barbarian emperor city could be said to be Ji Yufei's world. After that, he gathered all the tribal leaders in the territory of the barbarian emperor city. He wanted to become the overlord of the barbarian emperor city and become the local tyrant of this territory. What Ji Yufei wanted to do now was to gain a firm foothold in the southern barbaric lands, and then conquer everywhere, one step at a time. The territory of the barbarian emperor city wasn't small, and there were more than 100 human tribes in the territory. These human tribes of various sizes were distributed all over the territory. The large tribes had more than 100,000 people, and the small tribes had 1,000 to 2,000 people. There was a huge difference in strength between tribes. The small tribes attached themselves to the large tribes, and between the large tribes, they fought with each other endlessly, all wanting to occupy the most resources and the most territory. However, although these tribes fought with each other, they had to listen to the orders of the barbarian emperor city lord. When the city lord summoned, the leaders of the various tribes had to obediently come to the barbarian emperor city to pay their respects. However, the current barbarian emperor city was no longer the barbarian emperor city. In this way, the more than 100 tribes in the territory of the barbarian emperor city didn't know what to do. Surrendering to Ji Yufei meant betraying the barbarian emperor, but if they didn't surrender to Ji Yufei, then they would immediately face a disaster. Under Ji Yufei's command, the overlords of the more than 100 human tribes in the territory of the barbarian emperor city immediately panicked. In the Battle of the Black Mountain tribe, almost all the guardian deities of these tribes were killed by Ji Yufei, and the leaders of these tribes didn't have a high cultivation base at all. Because in the tribe, the most powerful one was the guardian deity of the tribe. For tribes that didn't listen, Ji Yufei wouldn't be lenient, and would directly annihilate them. The weak were prey to the strong. This was the law of the heavens, and when it was time to be ruthless, one must be ruthless. Otherwise, Ji Yufei would have been killed long ago. At this time, in the Heaven Witch Palace, Ji Yufei and the Heaven Witch priest were watching the sunset in the courtyard behind the Heaven Witch Palace, drinking spirit tea that was brewed with tea leaves plucked from a spirit tea tree. The environment here is not bad, it's many times better than my city lord's mansion. Ji Yufei raised the cup and took a sip, then sighed. One had to say, this Heaven Witch girl really knew how to enjoy life. How about I trade with you? The Heaven Witch priest said indifferently. At this time, she wasn't wearing a mask, and there was no expression on her pale face. What an icy beauty. Ji Yufei rubbed his nose and said, you want to be the city lord? Can't I? The Heaven Witch priest said. I think you shouldn't be the city lord, you should be the city lord's wife. Ji Yufei said with a smile. After hearing Ji Yufei's words, the Heaven Witch priest's expression finally changed a little, looking angry and shy at the same time. Ha, Ji Yufei was amused by the Heaven Witch priest's expression. This girl was very interesting. Inside the Heaven Witch Palace, the people who heard Ji Yufei's laughter were shocked. Who dared to laugh so wantonly in front of the Heaven Witch priest? However, no one dared to enter the courtyard, because the Heaven Witch priest had ordered that no one was allowed to enter. All right, I won't tease you anymore. Tell me, what do you want from me? Ji Yufei looked at the Heaven Witch girl and said. This girl definitely didn't come here for a simple cup of tea. The Heaven Witch priest looked at Ji Yufei seriously, then took out a piece of animal skin and handed it to Ji Yufei. This is. Ji Yufei took it and looked at it. This animal skin was very soft, and there were countless mountains and rivers drawn on it. This was a map, densely packed with marks, and the marked places were all cities. This is the map of Southern Barbarian. Work hard, I have faith in you. The Heaven Magus priest took a sip from the teacup. Chapter 49:31. Although Ji Yufei had conquered Barbarian Emperor City and successfully controlled all the tribes within its territory, he was in a bad situation. However, his situation was slightly bad because he was surrounded by the forces of the Barbarian Imperial City, and there were 3 other great cities around the territory of the Barbarian Imperial City. These 3 great cities were Black Fog City, Heavenly Eagle City, and Thousand Beast City. The territories of these 3 great cities formed a triangle, surrounding the territory of Barbarian Emperor City. In this way, Ji Yufei had to break through the encirclement of these 3 cities if he wanted to dominate Southern Barbarian. Heavenly Witch, that chick wants to see the world in chaos. In the main hall of the Barbarian Emperor City's City Lord Mansion, Ji Yufei sat on the throne, holding the map of Southern Barbarian's forces and looking at it carefully. In the main hall, there were 107 lords of the human race standing quietly. These lords were terrified in front of Ji Yufei. One should know that they were facing a god of death. This god of death even dared to kill the 3rd son of Barbarian Emperor, let alone them. Their tribe's guardian god died in the hands of this god of death. Now, some people secretly said that Ji Yufei was a divine terminator, because he had ended the lives of more than 100 divine beings. Qiu Qianjian, how much do you know about the 3 cities? Ji Yufei was still looking at the map in his hand. Master, these 3 cities are bigger than Barbarian Emperor City, and the city lords are half-step divine king human cultivators. Qiu Qianjian, who was standing at the side, answered. The city lord is only a half-step divine king, then you alone can sweep the 3 cities. Ji Yufei said indifferently. This, Qiu Qianjian wanted to say something but stopped. Why? You're a divine king, can't you handle the 3 cities? Ji Yufei said with some surprise. Master, although the city lords of the three cities are half-step divine kings, the three cities are definitely not simple. The three cities have formed a super grand formation, and this grand formation has enveloped the entire barbarian emperor city. Qiu Qianjian explained. I see. After listening to Qiu Qianjian's explanation, Ji Yufei understood. The Black Fog City, Heavenly Eagle City and the Thousand Beast City were used to seal barbarian emperor city. That so-called super array was a super cage. The city lords of the three great cities can use the power of the super formation to fight, so, Qiu Qianjian wanted to say something but hesitated. Half-step God King and super battle power, even he didn't have the confidence to defeat the three city lords. As one of the 5 great divine kings under Man Yu, the second son of Man Emperor, he naturally knew many things. This world is really interesting. Ji Yufei muttered to himself. There were 2 extremes in this world. One was the lowest tribe, which still maintained a primitive state. The worship of gods and so on were all manifestations of primitive society. However, the creatures at the higher levels were in a different state. The cultivation system here was not backward at all. There were even people who could set up super formations. The creatures who truly mastered the best cultivation techniques in this world were the rulers of this world. The people at the lowest level were destined to be enslaved. Therefore, Ji Yufei said that this world was very interesting. The lower levels were in a primitive society, while the higher levels were in an extremely developed cultivation world. Alright, you guys go and prepare first, then go and explore the 3 great cities. Ji Yufei thought for a while and said, Yes, Master. Qiu Qianjian and the other divine kings quickly accepted the order and left the hall. Master wants to attack the 3 great cities? The 107 tribal lords in the hall were shocked to the extreme. Was the war finally about to begin? This was the first time someone dared to challenge the barbarian emperor since he ruled South Barbarian. Just when Ji Yufei was thinking about how to conquer the world, in the main hall of Heaven Magus Palace, the Heaven Magus priest was sitting on a high throne. Below the throne stood 13 masked women in white. Heaven Magus Highness, why did you summon us here? A woman in white standing at the front asked with a respectful tone. Nothing, I just invited you to stay in Heaven Magus Palace for a few days. The Heaven Magus priest said. What? When the 13 masked women heard this, they couldn't help but feel puzzled. Inviting them to Heaven Magus Palace was to ask them to stay for a few days. Things weren't that simple. Heaven Magus Highness, are you secretly helping that guy called Ji Yufei? A masked woman voiced out her doubts. The other witches were shocked when they heard this because Ji Yufei was the enemy of the barbarian emperor. Not only did he kill the barbarian emperor's envoy, but he also killed the barbarian emperor's 3rd son, Man Yao. This was an irreconcilable enmity. It was impossible for the barbarian emperor to let Ji Yufei go. But now, the barbarian emperor was entangled with a matter and couldn't get away. This was an opportunity for Ji Yufei, a chance for him to rise. Ji Yufei needed time to improve his cultivation. That longevity coffin was also very mysterious, he needed to study it. The 13 witches were left in Heaven Magus Palace by the Heaven Magus priest. These 13 witches were the witches of the 3 major cities. Without their help, it would be much easier for Ji Yufei to take down the 3 major cities. The barbarian emperor city had a Heaven Magus, but the other 3 major cities didn't have such treatment. In the following days, Ji Yufei only did 2 things. One was to study the map, and the other was to cultivate. He even threw the longevity coffin aside. Then, Qiu Qianjian led his men to attack Black Fog City. Black Fog City was the weakest among the 3 major cities. Qiu Qianjian and the Black Fog City Lord had a fierce battle, but Qiu Qianjian was forced to retreat. Qiu Qianjian, a divine king, couldn't do anything to the Black Fog City Lord, a half-step divine king. Was the formation really that strong? Ji Yufei was a little surprised. One should know that a divine king was much stronger than a half-step divine king. In fact, he had already figured out the actual situation of the formation. He knew a little about formations. Although the 3 cities had sealed the barbarian emperor city, they were actually protecting the barbarian emperor city. After all, This was the barbarian emperor's ancestral land. In order to break the formation, one must find the eye of the formation, and the eye of the formation that enveloped the entire barbarian emperor city was the three major cities. In other words, to break the formation, one must break the city. It was not an easy task to break the city. Even a divine king like Qiu Qianjian couldn't do it, let alone the others. Looks like I have to do it. Ji Yufei was a little helpless, but he knew that as long as he absorbed the energy of the formation, he should be able to fight against the barbarian emperor. At that time, even if the barbarian emperor came, he wouldn't be afraid. Get ready, we'll attack the three major cities in 3 days. Ji Yufei announced the news in the main hall of the City Lord Mansion. Soon, the news spread to the three major cities. Want to break the city? You're overestimating yourself. Chapter 4932. Ji Yufei had been studying this super grand array for the past few days. The person who could set up such a grand array was definitely an expert in the array Dao. His array Dao cultivation must have surpassed the Grandmaster level. Otherwise, how could he have the ability to set up such a grand array? In other words, there was an expert in the array Dao in barbarian sovereign's camp. This was definitely not a good thing for Ji Yufei. However, his array Dao cultivation was not low either. These 2 days, Ji Yufei was not in barbarian sovereign city. Instead, he personally went out to look at the terrain of the mountains and rivers, and observed the location of the three major cities. He finally found the flaw of this super grand array. To set up a super grand array that enveloped a region, the source of power for the array was definitely drawing in the spiritual energy of the earth veins as the power source. As long as the situation of the earth veins of this region was clear, and then the supply of spiritual energy from the earth veins to the grand array was cut off, this super grand array would collapse on its own. On the 3rd day, early in the morning, Ji Yufei gathered a group of subordinates in the main hall of the City Lord Manor. The 4 great divine kings and 107 tribal lords were all present. No one dared to not come after receiving Ji Yufei's order. Ji Yufei's methods awed all the tribal leaders in the territory of barbarian sovereign city. Those gods that were captured in the coiling dragon gorge were also killed by Ji Yufei. Not a single one was spared. These gods were not particularly powerful. He was killing the chicken to warn the monkey. Ji Yufei made arrangements in the main hall. He personally led the army formed by 107 tribes and charged towards Black Fog City. At this time, outside barbarian sovereign city, banners fluttered, wild beasts roared, and the fiendish aura was earth-shattering. The human race of southern barbarian was known for their valiance. Even if it was a ragtag army, hundreds of thousands of ragtag army was still an incomparably powerful force. The 4 great divine kings left barbarian sovereign city under Ji Yufei's instructions. No one knew why Ji Yufei sent the 4 great divine kings, but it was definitely related to this battle. Shan Kuei led the black armored guards and became Ji Yufei's personal guard. After a simple oath, they set off. Ji Yufei led hundreds of thousands of troops straight to Black Fog City. Just as Ji Yufei set off, a white figure stood on top of the city wall, watching Ji Yufei leave. The distance between Barbarian Emperor City and Black Mist City was actually not very far, only less than 200 li. However, Ji Yufei was leading an army of hundreds of thousands, so the speed of the army naturally could not be fast. One must know that the southern barbarians didn't have many things, but they had a lot of mountains. They were all walking on mountain roads. After a day, Ji Yufei's army had only marched 80 miles. Before nightfall, Ji Yufei's army set up camp in a spacious area and started cooking. The news that Ji Yufei had led an army to attack Black Fog City spread. The 3 cities were shaken, especially Black Fog City. Countless creatures in the city were terrified. City Lord, this, Black Fog City, City Lord Mansion. The City Lord of Black Fog City sat on the throne in the main hall. At this time, there were dozens of experts standing in the main hall. Among these experts, there were many experts from foreign clans. An old man who looked like a military advisor looked at the City Lord of Black Fog City. "Hey Xian, you are my strategist. What do you say?" The old man called He Xian frowned when he heard this. The other party was coming aggressively. They could completely rely on the power of the super formation to destroy those who came. City Lord, I think defense is the best strategy. Because of the existence of the formation, we are already in an invincible position. He Xian thought for a moment and said, defense. The City Lord of Black Fog City couldn't help but frown when he heard this. Tell me about your middle and bottom plans. The middle plan is to send people to attack the invading enemies along the way to damage their morale. The bottom plan is to gather the army and take the initiative to attack and fight. After He Xian finished speaking, the main hall immediately fell into silence. No one spoke. What do you think? The City Lord of Black Fog City broke the silence in the main hall. We agree with Military Advisor He Xian. Military Advisor He Xian's analysis is very good. Let's do as He Xian says. All the experts in the main hall said one after another. The best strategy is to defend, the middle plan is to disturb the enemy, and the bottom plan is to fight. The City Lord of Black Fog City pondered. Who is willing to disturb the enemy? The City Lord of Black Fog City glanced at his subordinates in the main hall and said. Everyone in the main hall immediately hesitated. No one was stupid. Disturbing the enemy could mean being killed at any time. No one wanted to take the risk. A bunch of cowards. At this moment, a voice suddenly came from outside the main hall. Hearing this voice, all the experts in the main hall were extremely embarrassed. They knew who had come. Then, a figure strode in from outside the main hall. Big brother, I'm going to teach those arrogant fellows a lesson. The person who came was a tall, middle-aged man with a majestic appearance. Be careful. The City Lord of Black Fog City nodded and said. Yes, big brother, the middle-aged man said as he turned around and strode out. Soon, dozens of figures rushed out of Black Fog City. These figures quickly disappeared into the mountains outside Black Fog City. Second Master, those people are going to suffer. Someone in the main hall of the City Lord's mansion said in a low voice. The military advisor He Xian was a little unhappy. He could obviously rely on the super formation to kill those guys, but why did he have to ask for trouble? Didn't the City Lord of Black Fog City rely on the power of the super formation to defeat Qiu Qianjian? At this time, in the camp of Jiyu Fei's army, night patrols could be seen everywhere in the military camp, and the defense was tight. They were also afraid of being ambushed. However, what they were afraid of really happened. In the middle of the night, dozens of fireballs directly appeared in the sky above the camp of Jiyu Fei's army, illuminating the dark sky and earth. Enemy attack! Enemy attack! Suddenly, there was a roar in the military camp. In the next moment, the entire military camp was in an uproar, and countless soldiers directly picked up their weapons and rushed out of the tents. However, when countless soldiers looked up at the dozens of huge fireballs falling from the sky, they were all dumbfounded. They actually used fire to attack. Fire was definitely a fatal attack for Jiyu Fei's army that had set up camp. Once the camp was set on fire, Jiyu Fei's army would directly be in danger of being defeated. Jiyu Fei walked out of the main tent and then grabbed at the dozens of fireballs in the sky with his right hand. The dozens of fireballs immediately flew towards him and quickly shrank, then he grabbed them in his hand. Seeing this scene, countless soldiers were dumbfounded. Kill. As Jiyu Fei spoke, he pointed with his right hand, and a ray of divine light directly penetrated a mountain in the distance. The ray of divine light instantly crossed a distance of more than 10 miles and penetrated a figure. The figure screamed miserably and rolled down the mountain ridge. Want to sneak attack? Then you'll have to pay the price. Jiyu Fei glanced around. Chapter 49:33. It was a dark and windy night. In the southern region of the Void Realm, hundreds of thousands of soldiers were stationed in a valley in the territory of Barbarian Emperor City. This was Jiyu Fei's army. Jiyu Fei's army did not march at night, so they found a valley and set up camp there. Who would have thought that someone would launch a sneak attack on Jiyu Fei's camp in the middle of the night? A dozen fireballs fell from the sky and smashed towards Jiyu Fei's camp. However, no one could have imagined that Jiyu Fei would easily break his opponent's attack and grab the dozen fireballs that were falling from the sky in his hand. The fire spiritual force was directly devoured by him. Next, Ji Yufei pointed out with a finger to kill off the fellow who had launched a sneak attack on them from over 10 kilometers away. This, the second master of Black Fog City, who was hiding in the dark, was extremely depressed. The Fire Emperor died just like that. The people that the second master brought with him were also extremely shocked. The Fire Emperor was a fire god king, and his cultivation was not lower than theirs. The other party actually killed the Fire God King with a wave of his hand. With such combat strength, even if they attacked together, they would not be a match for this guy called Ji Yufei. Retreat. Second Master Tong Yi immediately ordered a retreat. The night passed uneventfully. Early the next morning, after Ji Yufei's army had their breakfast, they broke camp and continued marching towards Black Fog City. However, just as Ji Yufei's army passed through a valley, countless boulders suddenly rolled down from the cliffs on both sides. Enemy attack. Countless soldiers in the valley were scared half to death when they saw this scene. All of them panicked. Just as countless combat soldiers were about to be crushed to death by the falling rocks, Ji Yufei made his move again. A cold light flashed across the sky like a bolt of lightning. The boulders that rolled down from the cliffs on both sides were directly smashed by the cold light, turning into dust and sprinkling down. Reckless, Ji Yufei soared into the sky and killed his way to the cliff on the left. A few figures were about to rush into a forest in the distance. Still want to escape? Ji Yufei sneered, and the cold light instantly flew up with a whoosh. Then, those people were gone. There were also people fleeing from the opposite cliff. However, in front of Ji Yufei, no ordinary deities or even godly kings could escape. Their bodies were directly pierced by the cold light, and they died instantly. The second master of Black Fog City, Tong Yi, was so depressed that he almost vomited blood. He never would have thought that the 10 subordinates he had sent to set up an ambush in Black Fog Canyon, intending to deal a heavy blow to Ji Yufei's army. Who would have thought that after half a day, none of his 10 subordinates had returned? How is this possible? On a mountain ridge 60 miles away from the Black Fog Canyon, Tong Yi looked in disbelief at the army of barbarian Imperial City that kept coming out of the Black Fog Canyon. Needless to say, the 10 subordinates sent by miracle had already been killed by that person. Nothing is impossible. At this moment, a cold voice sounded from above Tong Yi's head. What? Tong Yi looked up abruptly, only to see that a black-robed youth had appeared in the sky above him. Clang! The 4 subordinates behind Tong Yi immediately took out their weapons. At this time, the hungry Tong Yi was shocked and angry. He was a peak god king, but with his cultivation, he actually didn't sense the existence of this person immediately. Could it be that this person's cultivation was above his? You are the madman Ji Yufei who despised the barbarian emperor and killed the third son of the barbarian emperor? Tong Yi stared coldly at Ji Yufei in the sky and said. An incomparably powerful wave of yuan qi immediately erupted from his body. You're quite well informed. Ji Yufei grinned. Who are you? How dare you provoke me? The smile on Ji Yufei's face suddenly disappeared, and his tone became even colder. He, I am your uncle. Tong Yi sneered. Since you want to die, I will fulfill your wish. As Ji Yufei spoke, he directly attacked Tong Yi from the sky. Kill. Tong Yi and the 4 subordinates behind him also made their moves. 4 rays of cold light directly shot towards Ji Yufei who was charging down from the sky, while Tong Yi blasted a punch towards Ji Yufei. Tong Yi's 4 subordinates were all god kings. It was just a black mist city, but there were actually so many god kings. It was truly unbelievable. One should know that barbarian Emperor City didn't even have a single god king. Of course, that girl in Heaven Witch Palace, Ji Yufei couldn't see through her. You are courting death. Ji Yufei put his palms together and then separated them. Countless palm shadows immediately appeared in the void and slapped towards Tong Yi and his 4 subordinates. In the next moment, the 4 god kings were sent flying with a miserable cry. As for Tong Yi's fist, it was grabbed by Ji Yufei. Then, Tong Yi felt that the yuan qi in his body was being sucked away by Ji Yufei's right hand. In just an instant, Tong Yi's originally rosy face became as pale as paper. Master, Tong Yi's 4 god king subordinates watched this scene in shock. They were sent flying by Ji Yufei's palm shadows and were all heavily injured. Quickly kill him, Tong Yi roared. He desperately tried to retract his fist, but it was impossible. After the four god kings heard Tong Yi's order, they immediately charged towards Ji Yufei. You guys come over as well. As Ji Yufei spoke, an even stronger devouring power erupted from his body. The four god kings were involuntarily pulled towards Ji Yufei by this devouring power. Just as the four god kings flew in front of Ji Yufei's left hand drew a circle in the void and the four god kings' power was absorbed by his power. In the next moment, the four god kings' Yuan Qi was being devoured by Ji Yufei. How is this possible? The four god kings were scared out of their wits. They desperately tried to break free, but they couldn't. The four unlucky god kings howled miserably as their Yuan Qi was completely devoured by Ji Yufei. They immediately turned into four dried corpses and breathed their last. You dare kill me? I'm the brother of Black Fog City's city lord. Tong Yi stared at Ji Yufei and said with a trembling voice. Die. Ji Yufei's right hand shook and a force erupted from his hand, turning Tong Yi, the second master of Black Fog City, into a bloody mist. Who do you think you are? I even dared to kill the third son of Barbarian King, let alone you. Ji Yufei said disapprovingly. Roar. At this moment, a furious roar suddenly came from Black Fog City, and a terrifying pressure instantly enveloped the entire Black Fog City. Chapter 49-34. The second-in-command of Black Fog City, Tong Yi, was actually dead. The whole city was shocked when the news spread out. Black Fog City Lord Tong Yi was only a half-step divine king, but his second brother was a peak-stage divine king. His cultivation was much higher than his elder brother. This was also why Tong Yi dared to attack Ji Yufei's army alone. There were many divine kings under Tong Yi. These divine kings were experts that he subdued when he was traveling in the southern barbarians. To be able to subdue so many divine kings, this proved that Tong Yi was very capable. Originally, the position of Black Fog City Lord was Tong Yi's, but he didn't want to be the city lord as he liked to travel the world. When Qiu Qianjian attacked previously, Tong Yi hadn't returned yet. After Qiu Qianjian attacked, Black Fog City Lord Tong Yi felt that the matter was serious, so he sent a message to his second brother and called him back. Who would have thought that Tong Yi would encounter Ji Yufei this time, and then, there was no then. In fact, Black Fog City seemed to be the weakest among the three major cities, but this was under the premise that Tong Yi's forces were not included. If Tong Yi's forces were included, Black Fog City would actually be the strongest among the three major cities. After Ji Yufei finished off Tong Yi and the four godly monarchs, he sat cross-legged on the mountain ridge. At that moment, he devoured Tong Yi and the four godly monarchs' Yuan Qi, causing the Yuan Qi in his body to surge. His body was surrounded by fire qi, and a flame-shaped Dao pattern was faintly visible on his glabella. He was condensing the fire element Great Dao, but this flame Dao pattern was still very unstable. Ji Yufei successfully condensed the sword Dao pattern last time, and the sword Dao power in his body recovered, allowing his cultivation to soar to the level where he could easily kill a divine king. Now, he planned to condense the fire Dao pattern and recover the fire element power in his body. 1 hour later, there was a sudden buzz. Ji Yufei's body shook, and a resplendent flame-shaped Dao pattern was branded on his glabella. Roar. Ji Yufei roared towards the sky. Boom. A fireball exploded on the peak of the mountain. Endless divine fire instantly swept across the sky and the ground. The entire mountain was burned by the divine fire and directly turned into dust. Within a radius of more than 10 miles, whether it was the rocks, flowers, or trees, they were all burned to ashes. The void was distorted by the heat. Right at this moment, the supreme existences in the 5 major regions of the void realm were alarmed, and they looked towards southern man at the same time. The next moment, the towering divine fire instantly retreated like the tide, all of it submerged into Ji Yufei's body. Inside his body, the primordial qi was vast and mighty, and the flame-shaped mark between his eyebrows was hidden under his skin, vanishing without a trace. Someone has become a Ren Huang? In the southern barbaric land. Could it be that the shaman emperor, that old thing, has come out of seclusion? One after another, powerful divine senses descended upon the southern wilderness, but at this time, the earth-shattering aura just now had disappeared. The shaman emperor was a peerless expert. He had once fought with the current barbarian emperor, and the battle was earth-shattering. Although he was defeated in the end, he did not perish and chose to live in seclusion. At that time, the barbarian emperor, as long as there was a trace of a chance to kill the shaman emperor, he would do it directly. Unfortunately, the barbarian emperor did not have the confidence to kill the shaman emperor. At this time, when Jiyu Fei's army of hundreds of thousands saw the monstrous disaster that suddenly appeared in front of them, they were all frightened. That aura, in the city lord residence of Black Fog City, the city lord Tongyi could not help but feel inexplicably shocked when he sensed the terrifying aura that appeared for a short while. That guy is actually strong enough to stand shoulder to shoulder with the barbarian emperor. In the barbarian emperor city, in the Heaven Witch Palace, the Heaven Witch priest also sensed the aura of Jiyu Fei. The Heaven Witch priest then left the Heaven Witch Palace with her maids. At this time, a flame descended from the sky and landed directly in front of Jiyu Fei's army. The flame dissipated, and a figure appeared. "Greetings, Master." When more than 100 tribal lords saw that person, they immediately knelt down. The countless soldiers behind the tribal lords also knelt down at the same time, and their shouts shook the sky. The person who came was naturally Jiyu Fei. "Get up, we will not march today. We will set up camp here and rest for a day," Jiyu Fei ordered. "Yes, Master," the hundreds of thousands of soldiers shouted in unison, their voices shaking the sky. Outside the Black Fog Canyon, there was a large open space. The army directly buried the pots to cook, and at the same time, set up simple tents. Shan Kuei and the others sent out scouts to investigate the surroundings. Jiyu Fei's main tent was quickly set up. He directly went into the main tent and cultivated inside, consolidating the cultivation that he had just broken through. The old priest and Xiao Yue personally stood guard outside. The Great Fire Mountain blocked Jiyu Fei's army. In the city lord residence of Black Fog City, Tongyi, who received the news, was surprised and overjoyed. This way, he would have enough time to prepare for the final battle with Jiyu Fei. Tongyi immediately sent people to contact the Heavenly Eagle City Lord and the Thousand Beast City Lord. He wanted to gather the strength of the three major cities to destroy Jiyu Fei. If Jiyu Fei defeated them one by one, even if they did not die in the hands of Jiyu Fei, they would be killed by the barbarian emperor. In fact, he did not even need to send people to contact them. The Heavenly Eagle City and the Thousand Beast City Lord had already made their move. They gathered their armies and surrounded Jiyu Fei's army. Especially the Thousand Beast City Lord, the Thousand Beast King, who directly commanded more than 100,000 beasts to charge towards Jiyu Fei's army. Report. At this time, a scout sent by Shan Kuei flew back in a hurry on a flying wing beast. The flying wing beast had not even touched the ground when the scout jumped down from the back of the flying wing beast. Report. The scout immediately knelt down on one knee before Shan Kuei. "The Thousand Beast army is coming from the south, 50 miles away from us," the scout said loudly. "They are not slow." Shan Kuei was a little surprised. Report. Another scout came down from the sky on a flying wing beast. Report. The Heavenly Eagle City's army has set up camp about 80 miles to the east. The scout quickly reported. "Are they trying to attack us from 3 sides?" Shan Kuei's face turned ugly. The armies of the 3 major cities must have outnumbered them by a lot. Were they trying to overwhelm them with numbers? "Master is in seclusion again. What should we do?" It would be a lie to say that Shan Kuei was not anxious. The armies of the Thousand Beast City and Heavenly Eagle City had arrived, especially the Thousand Beast City. The Thousand Beast City Lord was an expert in taming beasts, and he had already gathered more than 100,000 beasts along the way. This was even more terrifying than a beast horde in the mountains. There was nothing that could stop the army of beasts. Wherever the army of beasts went, everything was destroyed. The Heavenly Eagle City could not let their guard down, as the red-browed Eagle King of the Heavenly Eagle City had an entire Heavenly Eagle army under him. Every member of the Heavenly Eagle army had a Silver Claw Demon Eagle as a mount. The Silver Claw Demon Eagle was a ferocious beast. That pair of silver claws could split lions and tigers. A journey of 80 miles, to the Heavenly Eagle City's Heavenly Eagle Army, would not even take less than an hour to kill their way to Jiu Fei's army. Ha ha, Jiu Fei, this time, I will destroy your body and soul. You won't be able to become a ghost even if you want to. Chapter 49:35. Do they want to fight us here in the Black Fog Canyon? Shan Kuei found the old priest. When the old priest learned that the armies of the Thousand Beast City and Heavenly Eagle City had arrived, he could not help but turn pale. He quickly went to Xiao Wei to discuss what to do. When the 107 tribal leaders learned that the armies of the two major cities had arrived, they were shocked and the hundreds of thousands of soldiers were stirred up. It must be known that these tribal leaders had only submitted to Jiu Fei's might. Once someone was stronger than Jiu Fei, they would definitely turn their spears against Jiu Fei. But Jiu Fei's ruthless methods of suppressing the rebellion in the barbarian emperor city had made these tribal leaders fearful and they did not dare to make any moves. Moreover, the news that Jiu Fei had killed Tongyi had spread. Tongyi was a ruthless man, a peak-level divine king who had subdued many powerful living beings of the divine king level. Even he was killed by Jiu Fei, it was obvious how terrifying Jiu Fei was. As long as Master is here, we have nothing to fear. Xiao Wei said. At this time, Xiao Wei was displaying a calm and steady demeanor, not like a 5 or 6-year-old child, but like an old antique that had lived for countless years. We will not move first. Xiao Wei said. Yes, Your Highness. Shan Kuei and the old priest obeyed. Jiu Fei was in closed-door cultivation, and as Jiu Fei's disciple, Her Highness, was their master. No one dared to defy Her Highness. The tribal leaders were not very obedient to Xiao Wei at the beginning, but after Xiao Wei displayed her powerful might, they all became obedient. Outside the Black Fog Canyon, Jiu Fei's army was waiting. However, the army of the Thousand Beast City suddenly stopped. The mountains were filled with the shadows of beasts, densely packed together. These beasts roared continuously, shaking the heavens and earth. Big brother, why don't we go straight for Jiu Fei's army? What are we waiting for? On a mountain ridge surrounded by countless wild beasts, two figures stood. One of them was draped in beast skin and held a glowing bone staff in his hand. The shadow of a huge beast could be vaguely seen on his body. The person holding the divine beast bone staff was the Thousand Beast King, Desolate Ape, and standing beside him was his second brother, Desolate Tiger. TSK, can't you see that the red-browed Eagle King, that old bastard, is biding his time? The Baron Ape sneered. Big brother, are you saying that you, red-eyebrowed old ghost, want us and Jiu Fei to fight to the death? Desolate Tiger said in shock. What's in it for him? Baron Tiger said in confusion. They were all responsible for guarding the barbarian emperor city, and they were just one of the countless city lords under the barbarian emperor's command. What was the difference? Did red-eyebrowed old man want to be the boss? There are still many benefits to being the boss. The wild ape muttered. The Thousand Beast City was the most powerful among the three major cities, as the Thousand Beast King was able to control wild beasts. If the wild beasts that blotted out the skies and covered the earth formed a beast tide, it would definitely be able to destroy everything. Moreover, the Thousand Beast City also had 3 divine kings. With the strength of the Thousand Beast City, even if the Black Fog City had Tongyi, he would not dare to challenge the position of the Thousand Beast City's boss. Let's wait and see first. The Baron Ape said. Since the red-eyebrowed Eagle King wanted to preserve his strength, he was not stupid and naturally would not foolishly lead the wild beast army to fight to the death with Jiu Fei's army. Moreover, even Tongyi had died in the hands of Jiu Fei, no one dared to underestimate Jiu Fei anymore. Yes, big brother. The Desolate Tiger quickly replied. The Thousand Beast City had spared no expense this time. They had mobilized all their top exponents and gathered so many wild beasts. In the entire south, only the Thousand Beast King, the wild ape, was capable of controlling more than 100,000 wild beasts at the same time. The Thousand Beast King has stopped. In the main tent of the Heavenly Eagle City's army, 80 miles away from the Black Fog Canyon, a red-eyebrowed old man sat on the throne, listening to the report of a scout. City Lord, What's going on with the Thousand Beast King? Why did he stop? What is he trying to do? A middle-aged general in black armor said. In the middle of the main tent was a fire pit, and there were all kinds of beast meat being grilled on it. The aroma of meat and wine filled the air, whetting one's appetite. What else can he do? He just wants to preserve his strength. The red-eyebrowed eagle king sneered. The group of heavenly eagle city generals in the main tent looked a little unnatural. They seemed to want to preserve their strength as well, and no one wanted to be the first to attack. City Lord, since the Thousand Beast King is not attacking, and the Black Fog City's Black Fog King is not attacking, this may be a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for us. The middle-aged general said after thinking for a while. General Fu, what do you mean? The red-eyebrowed eagle king looked at the middle-aged general and frowned. City Lord, think about it. Not only did this Jiu Fei stand on the barbarian emperor's side, he also killed His Highness Man Yao. That's the third son of the barbarian emperor. If we can get rid of this fellow Jiu Fei, wouldn't it be a great merit? The middle-aged general's eyes lit up as he said. That's right. The other generals in the main tent couldn't help but nod. If they could make a great merit, they would be rewarded by the barbarian emperor. The barbarian emperor had always been very generous to his subordinates. If there was merit, they would be rewarded. If there was fault, they would be punished. The red-eyebrowed eagle king was also a little tempted because if he could take down Jiu Fei, he might not have to stay in this godforsaken place anymore. In this area of southern Barbarian, there were no earth veins where spiritual energy gathered. Even if there were, the spiritual energy in the earth veins would be absorbed by the superformation. There was nothing for these god kings to do. The superformation needed energy to operate, and the spiritual energy in the earth veins were all consumed by the superformation. The spiritual energy in this area was naturally much thinner than other places. In the entire southern Barbarian, there were actually not many people who were willing to come to this place to protect the ancestral land for the barbarian emperor. City Lord, shall we do it? The middle-aged general looked at the red-eyebrowed eagle king and said. The other generals were also looking at the red-eyebrowed eagle king. They also didn't want to stay here to protect the ancestral land for the barbarian emperor. The outside world was so exciting, everyone knew that there was no future in staying here. The red-eyebrowed eagle king thought for a while, then flipped his right hand and a formation plate immediately appeared in his hand. On the formation plate, spiritual energy lingered, mountains and rivers appeared. 3 cities were located in 3 directions, surrounding one of the cities in the middle. City Lord. The generals were excited when they saw the red-eyebrowed eagle king take out the formation plate. This was something that could trigger the power of the super formation. With the formation plate in hand, no one could be a match for the red-eyebrowed eagle king within the range of the super formation. Of course, there were 2 more such formation plates. One was in the hands of Thousand Beast King, and the other was in the hands of Black Fog City's City Lord, Tong Yi. Tong Yi was only a half-step god king, but because he had the formation plate, he could compete with Qiu Qianjian, a sword Dao god king. This was the trump card of the 3 major cities. If you want to fight, let's fight. Chapter 4936. Southern Barbarian was one of the 5 major regions of the Void Realm. Although it was one of the 5 major regions, the territory of Southern Barbarian was so vast that even the Barbarian Emperor could not fully explore this region. In Southern Barbarian, there were some places that even the Barbarian Emperor did not dare to set foot in. In fact, there were some mysterious regions in every world. Those places were inexplicably dangerous, and even strong cultivators would definitely die if they went in. There were too many secrets in the Void Realm. There were also a few terrifying and mysterious regions in Southern Barbarian that no one dared to enter easily. The reason why the Barbarian Emperor did not find trouble with Jiu Fei was that he was held up by a matter and could not get away at all. This matter was much more important than the death of his son. The ghostly Emperor came to the Barbarian Emperor for that matter. This gave Jiu Fei a chance to breathe. However, although the Barbarian Emperor did not make a move, it did not mean that the strong cultivators under him would not make a move. Capturing or killing Jiu Fei would be a great contribution. At this time, The region of barbarian Emperor City was in turmoil. The three major forces had formed a three-sided encirclement on Jiu Fei's army. However, these guys all had their own ulterior motives. No one wanted to be the first to face Jiu Fei, because even if they could defeat Jiu Fei, they would suffer heavy losses. However, the red-browed Eagle King of Heavenly Eagle City had other plans. If Black Fog City and Thousand Beast City did not make a move, then he would make a move. After killing Jiu Fei, he could go to the barbarian emperor to claim his reward. At that time, he would no longer have to stay in this remote place. People strive for higher things, water flows downwards. Fight. After the red-browed Eagle King made up his mind, he ordered people to prepare a meal. After eating and drinking, he was ready to go all out. If he won, he would rise to the top. If he lost, he might not necessarily die. This time, the red-browed Eagle King had mobilized all the strong cultivators in Heavenly Eagle City. He led the 18 lords of Heavenly Eagle City and 200,000 soldiers here. Heavenly Eagle City was different from Barbarian Emperor City. Within the territory of Heavenly Eagle City, there were only 18 powerful tribes. Moreover, these tribes were ruled by the human race and did not have any guardian deities. Because these 18 lords were deities themselves, why would they need to worship the deities of foreign races? In fact, only in the most backward and primitive places would the tribes need to worship the gods of the foreign races. After nightfall, the mountain was actually very quiet. Even the roars of the savage beasts had disappeared. A bright moon hung high in the sky, sprinkling down hazy moonlight. Master hasn't come out yet. The vast open space outside the Black Fog Canyon was filled with tents as far as the eye could see. There were also teams of soldiers patrolling the area from time to time. This was Jiu Fei's military camp. Barricades were set up outside the barracks and many large pits were dug. Sharp wooden stakes were placed in the pits. Regardless of whether it was a man or a horse, once they fell into the pits, they would definitely die. In Jiu Fei's army, there were archers, heavy armored infantrymen, and light cavalry. If he hadn't killed the 5,000 Flying Wing army of the Flying Wing tribe, he would have an aerial force by now. All of you, stay alert. Shan Kuei led the black troopers to patrol the barracks. He didn't dare to be careless. After all, they were in a situation where they were surrounded by strong enemies. No one knew when the armies of the three cities would suddenly attack. TSK, if it wasn't for Master supporting him, would he be so impressive? He's just a fox borrowing the tiger's might to intimidate others. In my eyes, he's just a piece of trash. He's just a little guy. Why bother with him? Lower your voice. If he hears it, we'll definitely be in trouble. Many of the tribal lords weren't very convinced of Shan Kuei's power. Shan Kuei had only pledged his allegiance to Jiu Fei earlier. Now that he had become the commander of the black troopers, he was even more arrogant. In the Void Realm, in the southern barbarians, everyone would only submit to the strong. In the eyes of the tribal lords in the territory of Barbarian Emperor City, Shan Kuei was trash. Anyone would be displeased and indignant to have someone who was much weaker than them step on their head. I don't know what Master is doing. What is he thinking? He actually let Shan Kuei lead the black troopers. A tribal lord stared at Shan Kuei's back and said coldly. Shan Kuei rode the Azure Chiline colt and wore battle armor. He was proudly leading a group of black troopers to patrol the camp. This really made the tribal lords who were stronger than him very unhappy. Shut up. Is Master someone you can talk about? Unbeknownst to them, the old shaman had actually appeared behind the group of tribal lords. What? Lord Shaman. When the tribal lords saw the old shaman, they couldn't help but be shocked. They could look down on Shan Kuei and even despise him, but they absolutely didn't dare to not put the old shaman in their eyes. This old shaman was now a favorite of Master. The old shaman sneered and turned to leave, leaving behind a group of terrified tribal lords. What should we do? How would I know? The tribal lords quickly dispersed. Those tribal lords who spoke rudely just now were probably not going to have a good time. What is that? At this moment, Shan Kuei, who was patrolling the camp on the Azure Chiline colt, suddenly looked up to the sky. Under the moonlight, there were actually countless things flashing. and the countless flashing lights in the sky were quickly falling down to the camp below. This is, when Shan Kuei saw what the cold light that fell from the sky was, he was scared out of his wits. Enemy attack. In the next moment, Shan Kuei didn't even think and directly used all his strength to roar out these two words, because the densely packed cold light was actually the light emitted by the arrowheads that were illuminated by the moonlight. At this time, there was a rapid air-piercing sound in the sky. Countless arrows rained down from the sky. Screams rang out from the camp, and the entire camp was in chaos. They were caught unprepared. Ji Yufei had killed all the foreign race gods in Barbarian Emperor City. The tribal lords' abilities were limited, and they couldn't protect their soldiers at all. Countless soldiers were directly hit by the arrows and fell to the ground. Even Shan Kuei's left shoulder was hit by an arrow, and he fled in a panic towards the main tent. This guy was smart. The closer he was to master, the safer he would be. Therefore, he desperately rushed towards the main tent where Ji Yufei was. At this time, the void trembled, and a ball of divine light burst out from the main tent. The arrows that had yet to land all stopped in the void. Countless soldiers from the various tribes looked at the arrows that landed above their heads, and they were all stunned. Enemy attack, enemy attack. The various tribal lords in the camp began to move, and soon, the commotion in the camp was suppressed, and the army moved in an orderly manner. At this time, the ground shook. Everyone was inexplicably shocked. In the next moment, countless torches appeared outside the barracks as a group of cavalrymen charged madly towards Ji Yufei's barracks. Return it to you. Chapter 49:37. Under the moonlight, outside the Black Fog Canyon, a rain of arrows rained down from the sky. Ji Yufei's army was caught unprepared and suffered heavy casualties. At the critical moment, Ji Yufei made his move and stopped the rain of arrows that had yet to fall. At this time, the enemy cavalry began to charge at Ji Yufei's camp. In the darkness of the night, the sound of hooves thundering could be heard and the ground quaked. In the midst of the chaos, it was unknown how many cavalrymen were charging over. In Ji Yufei's camp, there was no small commotion. And at this time, the countless arrows that Ji Yufei had frozen in the air suddenly soared into the sky and shot toward the incoming cavalry. What? The general at the front of the cavalry couldn't help but turn pale with fright. Shield! The middle-aged general roared furiously. In the next moment, countless cavalrymen grabbed a shield hanging from their saddles and raised it above their heads. In the next moment, countless arrows fell from the sky and landed on the shield formation, but they were all deflected. The warhorses were also wearing heavy armor, and when the arrows hit the warhorses, they only caused sparks to fly. They were actually unable to penetrate the heavy armor of the warhorses. However, no matter how tight the defense was, there were still unlucky fellows. There were constantly cavalrymen who fell from their warhorses and were trampled into meat paste by the warhorses behind them. In this way, there was some commotion in the cavalry formation, but it didn't affect them much. What an elite cavalry! They seemed to be Heavenly Eagle City's Black Feather Cavalry. Some of the tribal lords in Barbarian Emperor City's territory exclaimed. They're from Heavenly Eagle City? The other tribal lords were shocked to hear this. The people from Heavenly Eagle City had suddenly attacked without any warning. Even the scouts they had sent out hadn't discovered them. Rumble, under the leadership of the Black Feather King, the Heavenly Eagle City's Black Feather Cavalry were like a black flood that directly charged into Ji Yufei's camp with unstoppable momentum. Under the iron hooves of the Black Feather Cavalry, the countless soldiers under Ji Yufei's command scattered in all directions. These Black Feathers cavalry were well equipped, and each of them held a blade in their hands. They rode on heavily armored black scale colts, and charged towards the soldiers who were fleeing in all directions. Wherever the Black Feathers cavalry passed, they were simply unstoppable. They left behind corpses on the ground, and the stench of blood immediately pervaded the air. Compared to the Black Feathers cavalry, Ji Yufei's army was like a ragtag army. It was a one-sided massacre. Reckless fool! A furious roar rang out, and in the next moment, streaks of fiery light shot out from Ji Yufei's tent, and then transformed into flaming dragons that bared their fangs and brandished their claws, pouncing directly towards the Black Feathers cavalry. The night sky was instantly illuminated by these fire dragons. The sky was densely packed with ferocious birds that stopped in the void. They were silent, and everyone was shocked when they saw this scene. Boom! 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 The fire dragons pounced into the midst of the Blackfeather's cavalry and exploded, turning into balls of flames that instantly enveloped a radius of several tens of feet, directly burning the Blackfeather's cavalry that were enveloped in the flames into ashes. My Blackfeather's cavalry, high up in the sky, the red-browed Eagle King, who was standing on the back of the silver-clawed Eagle King, felt his heart bleed when he saw this scene. This was a cavalry that he had spent countless efforts to build and train, and yet it was destroyed just like that. At this moment, a figure surrounded by flames walked out from the main tent, and walked step by step into the sky. He was like a peerless god of fire that had descended into the world. With his appearance, the temperature of the entire void rose rapidly, and everyone felt as though the blood in their bodies was about to evaporate. The most elite Blackfeather's cavalry of Sky Eagle City was directly plunged into a sea of flames, and only a few dozen of them managed to rush out. Roar! The commander of the Blackfeather's cavalry, the Blackfeather King, roared angrily, and leaped from the back of his horse like a madman, charging towards Gu Fei in the sky. Go to hell! The Blackfeather King waved his hands, and rays of black light shot out from his hands, piercing towards Gu Fei. Gu Fei sneered, and directly threw a punch at the Blackfeather King. A huge shadow of a fist appeared in the sky, dispersing the countless rays of black light that the Blackfeather King had pierced through, and the fist landed on the Blackfeather King's body. Then, under everyone's extremely shocked gazes, the Blackfeather King, who was a god king, did not even have the chance to cry out before he was blasted into a bloody mist by Gu Fei's punch. This was a direct annihilation of both his body and soul. This, the red-browed Eagle King, was no longer just shocked at this scene. This Gu Fei's battle prowess was far more powerful and terrifying than he had imagined. City Lord, this, the red-browed Eagle King was stunned as well. Killing a god king with a single punch. Even if he used his full strength, he would not be able to kill the Blackfeather King with a single strike. After all, the Blackfeather King's cultivation was not low. You guys dare to sneak up on me? Gu Fei stood in the sky with his hands behind his back, looking at the red-browed Eagle King indifferently. He was facing off against the army alone, and he did not take the red-browed Eagle King seriously at all. How dare you? Kill him. I don't believe that this guy has 3 heads and 6 arms, and that he can stop my army of 200,000. The red-browed Eagle King shook the spear in his hand. Kill. The Heavenly Eagle army behind him roared as they charged at Gu Fei. Sword cleaves the army of 10,000. Gu Fei made a grabbing motion with his right hand, and a sword condensed from Yuan Qi appeared in his hand. He held the sword in his right hand and swung it forward. In the next moment, an arc of flaming sword light shot forward, and the Heavenly Eagle army that was charging at Gu Fei were cut in half at the waist. What? The extremely sharp sword light instantly slashed at the red-browed Eagle King. The red-browed Eagle King was shocked. He did not even think before leaping off the back of the silver-clawed Eagle King, dodging the sword light. However, the Heavenly Eagle army behind him was unlucky. Wherever the sword light passed, a large number of the Heavenly Eagle army would immediately collapse. Their corpses fell from the sky, and blood rained down from the sky. I'm going to tear you to pieces. The red-browed Eagle King roared as he lunged at Gu Fei like a divine eagle. His claws directly tore at Gu Fei's head, and his 10 fingers pulsed with energy. If the red-browed Eagle King's claws landed, even a piece of godly metal would have 10 holes in it. Hee hee. Gu Fei suddenly laughed. In the next moment, he also extended his hands and grabbed at the red-browed Eagle King's claws. He wanted to use his claws to destroy the red-browed Eagle King's claws. You're courting death. The red-browed Eagle King sneered. He had cultivated the eagle claw technique for his entire life, and his claws had long become extremely powerful. Even a god king would die without a doubt if they were struck by his claws. Crack. Claws collided with claws, and the sound of bones breaking rang out. Then, everyone was stunned by this scene. They saw that the red-browed Eagle King had actually been grabbed by the throat by Gu Fei. Gu Fei had actually used his claws to destroy the red-browed Eagle King's claws, and he had a complete victory. He had even grabbed the red-browed Eagle King's throat. Chapter 4938. Under the moonlight, Jiyu Fei used an eagle claw to defeat an eagle claw, capturing the Eagle King in one move. Everyone was dumbfounded. How is this possible? City Lord. The godly kings that the red-browed Eagle King brought were all dumbfounded. How were they supposed to continue? Even the City Lord had been captured in one move. How were they supposed to continue? Furthermore, Jiyu Fei had killed countless members of the Sky Eagle army with one strike. The two most elite troops under the red-browed Eagle King had been crippled by Jiyu Fei just like that. This made the red-browed Eagle King's heart bleed. One had to know that the red-browed Eagle King had put in a lot of effort to build and train these two troops. Boom! At this moment, the red-browed Eagle King, whose throat was gripped by Jiyu Fei, suddenly exploded with a resplendent divine light. Jiyu Fei was shocked. In the next moment, he felt an extremely powerful yuan qi explode from the red-browed Eagle King's body, directly sending him flying several feet away. What's going on? Jiyu Fei stared at the red-browed Eagle King, who was surrounded by divine light, and couldn't help but frown. A formation plate rushed out from the red-browed Eagle King's body and floated in front of Jiyu Fei. Rays of divine light transformed into ancient runes that circled around the formation plate. This was something that Jiyu Fei was very familiar with. The power of a super array? Jiyu Fei stared at the hovering array disk and couldn't help but frown. An array disk was very useful. It could draw the power of a large array for one's own use. It was the master of the array. Little guy, go and die. The red-browed Eagle King was enraged to the extreme. His eyes were bloodshot as he desperately activated the array disk. An even more powerful and terrifying power exploded from his body. The red-browed Eagle King waved his hands. Rays of cold light instantly turned into extremely sharp sword qi that pierced towards Jiyu Fei. Jiyu Fei sneered. In the next moment, he rushed into the sky and dodged the piercing sword qi. Kill. Jiyu Fei let out a furious roar and punched towards the red-browed Eagle King. A violent fist force erupted from his fist, causing the void to tremble. Boundless flames erupted from his body, illuminating the entire world. Fire spiritual energy. The red-browed Eagle King was both shocked and furious. At this time, he was the ruler of the super great formation, drawing over an incomparably powerful force. Rumble. Suddenly, the sky changed color, and the sun and moon lost their light. A huge dragon shadow rushed out from the red-browed Eagle King's body, directly facing Jiyu Fei's fist energy. Boom! With a loud sound, the two powers instantly collided. The huge dragon image dissipated, and Jiyu Fei was actually pushed back by the superpower of the red-browed Eagle King. This was the first time since Jiyu Fei came to this world that he had been suppressed in terms of strength. Haha, little fellow, you're dead meat. The red-eyebrowed Eagle King laughed out loud as he attacked once again. The power of the super great array gathered towards him at a crazy rate. City Lord, you're amazing. This is the power of the super great array? The subordinates of the red-eyebrowed Eagle King were all shocked. They had thought that with Jiyu Fei's power, they would definitely be dead meat. Who would have thought that their city lord was so powerful that even Jiyu Fei was pushed back? Moreover, the red-eyebrowed Eagle King's power was still increasing. This super great array had been running for an unknown period of time, gathering the spiritual energy of the entire region. The power of this super great array was absolutely terrifying. Even the red-eyebrowed Eagle King could not withstand this power. The red-eyebrowed Eagle King did not dare to draw all the power of the super great array over, because he did not want to die. What's going on? At this time, in the Black Fog City, the city lord was originally sitting cross-legged in a secret room with his eyes closed, but he suddenly opened his eyes. The spiritual energy of the entire world was changing. Who drew the power of the super great array? The city lord of Black Fog City was extremely curious. Was it the red-eyebrowed Eagle King of Heavenly Eagle City or the Thousand Beast King of Thousand Beast City? At this time, about 60 miles away from Jiyu Fei's camp, the Thousand Beast King was stunned by the endless flames in the sky. Then, he sensed the changes in this part of the world. Who used the array plate? The Thousand Beast King was also extremely shocked. Big brother, this. The desolate tiger stood behind the Thousand Beast King. You stay here, I'll go take a look. The Thousand Beast King said and leaped into the sky, rushing towards the place where the flames were soaring. The desolate tiger was shocked. He wanted to call out to his big brother, but the Thousand Beast King had already run far away. At this time, in the sky above Jiu Fei's camp, two figures were moving quickly. Dull sounds of collision rang out in the sky, shaking the world. Jiu Fei's body was covered in mighty divine fire, and he directly struck out with the fire fist. Every time he struck out, a monstrous divine fire burst out from his fist, burning the void and distorting it. Even when facing the red-eyebrowed Eagle King who had drawn the power of the super great array, not only did he not show any fear, but his fighting spirit was even stronger. This guy is a lunatic. At this time, the red-eyebrowed Eagle King was extremely depressed. He had drawn the power of the super great array to keep blasting this guy away, but the other party kept coming back to kill him again and again. And this guy was getting more and more courageous as he fought. The red-eyebrowed Eagle King found that he could not really hurt this guy at all. This is big trouble. The red-eyebrowed Eagle King groaned inwardly. If this continued, it would definitely be disadvantageous to him. In fact, the red-eyebrowed Eagle King did not know that Jiu Fei was constantly devouring the power of the super great array. The power was just too strong. Jiu Fei knew that if he could completely devour this power, his cultivation would improve again. It's that old guy red-eyebrowed? The Thousand Beast City Lord, the Thousand Beast King, came to take a look and was immediately shocked. At this time, on the ground, in the military camp, Jiu Fei's army and the rest of the red-eyebrowed Eagle King's army were engaged in a fierce battle. Why aren't you two taking action? What are you waiting for? The red-eyebrowed Eagle King roared. He could not hold on any longer. Even though he was a divine king, he was not as strong as he wished. It was not easy to draw the power of the super great array. That old man red-eyebrowed, the Thousand Beast King had no choice but to take action. This Jiu Fei was much stronger than he had imagined. Roar! The Thousand Beast King roared as if he had transformed into a golden lion. He threw a punch at Jiu Fei as his long hair danced wildly in the wind. Jiu Fei grabbed the Thousand Beast King's right fist with a backhand. In the next moment, Jiu Fei swung the Thousand Beast King and threw him at the red-eyebrowed Eagle King. The red-eyebrowed Eagle King was dumbfounded. At the same time, a cold light suddenly appeared and struck at Jiu Fei's head at lightning speed. What? Chapter 4939. Jiu Fei fought the red-browed Eagle King and the Thousand Beast King, and he revealed a terrifying combat strength that caused the hearts of the two experts to palpitate. The Thousand Beast King was even directly grabbed by Jiu Fei and smashed towards the red-browed Eagle King. However, at this moment, a cold light suddenly appeared and struck Jiu Fei's head like a bolt of lightning. Master, Xiao Ya, who was fighting against the Heavenly Eagle King, was terrified. If her master died, all of them would be buried with him. Jiu Fei had killed the third son of the barbarian sovereign, Man Yarrow, and had formed an irreconcilable feud with the barbarian sovereign. The lords under Jiu Fei's command were also shocked by the scene in the sky. However, to everyone's disbelief, the cold light that was about to land on Jiu Fei's head was bounced off and knocked away. What? The red-browed Eagle King and the Thousand Beast King were shocked to see this because they knew who it was. It was the Lord of Black Mist City, Tong Yi. The Lord of Black Mist City was a half-step divine king and he had used the power of the super formation. The cold light sword in his hand was a divine king-level sword. This guy blocked the Lord of Black Mist City's cold light sword with his body alone. One could imagine how strong this guy's body was. This guy has cultivated the invincible golden body. The red-browed Eagle King was shocked. This guy's body was so strong that it could resist a divine king-level divine weapon. I don't believe he can fight against the super formation. The Thousand Beast King roared and pulled out the bone staff on his back. In the next moment, ferocious beast shadows appeared around him. The reason why the Thousand Beast King was called the Thousand Beast King was because of his cultivation technique. He cultivated the Thousand Beasts' mysterious art, and when he cultivated it to its peak, he would possess the strength of 1,000 beasts, and he would be able to contend against an emperor. It was a pity that the Thousand Beast King, the wild ape, had only cultivated the Thousand Beasts' mysterious art. There was still a long way to go before he reached the profound realm. Formation plate, let's work together and kill this guy. The Thousand Beast King roared, and a formation plate rushed out of his body. All right. The Lord of Black Fog City and the red-browed Eagle King gritted their teeth. In the next moment, an array disc rushed out from each of their bodies. The 3 array discs flew into the air and directly merged together. Rumble, countless runes rushed out from the fused formation plate. The entire world suddenly changed color, and the sun and moon lost their light. An extremely terrifying energy fluctuation erupted from the fused formation plate. Jiu Fei wasn't in a hurry to make a move. He stood in the void with his hands behind his back, watching the scene coldly. The Thousand Beast King, the red-browed Eagle King, and the others directly triggered the powerful energy that erupted from the fusion formation plate. 3 beams of divine light shot out from the fused formation plate and directly entered the bodies of the Thousand Beast King and the other 2. In the next moment, the Thousand Beast King, the red-eyebrowed Eagle King, and the Black Fog City Lord suddenly erupted with extremely powerful energy fluctuations. Interesting. Jiu Fei sensed that the strength of the Thousand Beast King and the others had increased by several times in an instant. The Thousand Beast King was originally a mid-level God King, but his cultivation and battle prowess had actually soared to the advanced God King realm. The red-browed Eagle King was even stronger. He was originally an advanced God King, but now his cultivation had actually soared to the level of a half-step monarch. This method of raising one's cultivation and battle prowess was indeed brilliant, but it also had a fatal flaw. Once the formation plate was broken, they would be directly beaten back to their original state. Moreover, this borrowed power would also harm them. After this battle, whether the Thousand Beast King and the others could defeat Jiu Fei or not would be greatly weakened. Even the Black Fog City Lord's cultivation and battle prowess had soared to the Godly King realm. Is that all you've got? Jiu Fei glanced at them and said indifferently, "What an arrogant fella." The Thousand Beast King's body was surrounded by beastly shadows. Each shadow burst out with an extremely ferocious aura, as if they would pounce on Jiu Fei at any time. Die! The red-browed Eagle King roared angrily. In the next moment, he directly attacked Jiu Fei like a divine eagle, aiming for Jiu Fei's throat and chest with his claws. Even a great perfection God King realm expert would definitely die if they were caught by his eagle claws. However, Jiu Fei's physical body was extremely tough. Even a Godly King weapon could not cut through his skin. Could the red-browed Eagle King's claws be even more powerful than a Godly King weapon? "I'm just playing with you." Jiu Fei laughed, and then he waved his hands. A strand of chaotic energy immediately erupted from his body. In the next moment, the red-browed Eagle King that was pouncing towards Jiu Fei actually changed its direction and pounced towards the City Lord of Black Mist. What? The Black Fog City Lord was shocked to see the ferocious red-browed Eagle King pouncing towards him. "You're crazy." The Black Fog City Lord hurriedly dodged. "I didn't want to do this." The red-browed Eagle King felt as if 10,000 alpacas were galloping through his heart. He was so depressed that he almost vomited blood. At the same time, the Thousand Beast King also made his move. Roar! The Thousand Beast King roared angrily. In the next moment, shadows of beasts rushed out of his body and pounced towards Jiu Fei with their claws and fangs bared. These were not ordinary shadows of beasts. They were formed from vitality and were probably much more powerful than real beasts. The power of the Thousand Beasts' mysterious art was not to be underestimated. Not bad. Faced with the countless shadows of beasts, Jiu Fei smiled faintly and waved his sleeves casually. The shadows of beasts that were charging towards him disappeared into the void. This was one of Jiu Fei's 9 secrets of the immortal path, the void formula, which could transform all the vitality of the world. No matter how powerful the Thousand Beasts' mysterious art was, the 9 secrets of the immortal path was its nemesis. How is this possible? The Thousand Beast King was dumbfounded. His most powerful technique, the Thousand Beasts' mysterious art, was broken so easily by his opponent. At that moment, Jiu Fei's entire aura changed, becoming incomparably domineering. Boom! In the next moment, a burst of divine fire erupted from Ji Yufei's body. Fist of fire! Ji Yufei punched out, and in the next moment, monstrous divine fire erupted from his fist. The extremely violent power of fire rushed towards the Thousand Beast King. Damn it! The Thousand Beast King was shocked and angry. He frantically operated the Thousand Beasts' mysterious art. It was as if he had transformed into a divine dragon and met Ji Yufei's punch head-on. Rumble, a muffled sound erupted, and Ji Yufei and the Thousand Beast King were sent flying at the same time. Again. Chapter 4940. Under the moonlight, Ji Yufei stood high up in the sky outside the Black Fog Canyon, fighting alone against 3 powerful experts. At this time, Ji Yufei's army of hundreds of thousands was fighting the army of Heavenly Eagle City. But it was obvious that Ji Yufei's army was not a match for the army of Heavenly Eagle City. The army of Heavenly Eagle City was made up of elites. Although the Heavenly Eagle Army and the Black Feathers Cavalry had been crippled by Ji Yufei, but the foot soldiers of Heavenly Eagle City were still very strong. Moreover, the foot soldiers of Heavenly Eagle City were well equipped. Every foot soldier held a shield in their left hand and a spear in their right. They used the shield to block attacks and the spear to stab the enemy to death. There was a huge difference between well-trained soldiers and soldiers who did not go through systematic training. Ji Yufei's army was just a motley crew. Hence, when they encountered the army of Heavenly Eagle City, it was a one-sided battle. However, although Ji Yufei's army did not know any battle formations, nor did they know any joint attack techniques, but when they became vicious, they were still very terrifying. They caused quite a number of casualties to the army of Heavenly Eagle City. Ji Yufei's army was 300,000 strong, and the army of Heavenly Eagle City, because the Heavenly Eagle Army and the Black Feathers Cavalry had been crippled by Ji Yufei, was only left with 80,000 foot soldiers. It was impossible for the 80,000 foot soldiers of Heavenly Eagle City to defeat an army of 300,000. Under the leadership of the leaders of the various tribes, Ji Yufei's army was fighting desperately with the army of Heavenly Eagle City. Every single one of the soldiers was ferociously attacking the soldiers of Heavenly Eagle City. The ground was littered with corpses, flames shot up to the sky, and battle cries shook the earth. The army of the Black Fog City and the army of the Thousand Beast City did not move, which made the Red-Browed Eagle King furious. However, the Red-Browed Eagle King knew that as long as he could kill Ji Yufei, everything would not be a problem anymore. Although the Red-Browed Eagle King was furious, he still had to think about the bigger picture. After this, he would have to settle the score with the Thousand Beast King and the Black Fog City Lord. At this time, Ji Yufei and the Thousand Beast King were engaged in an intense battle. The Thousand Beast King had activated the power of the Super Formation and was actually able to fight with Ji Yufei without falling into a disadvantageous position. Ha ha! How satisfying! Ji Yufei laughed heartily as he attacked. It had been a long time since he had met such an evenly matched opponent. It had been a long time since he had fought to his heart's content. At this moment, the blood in his body was boiling. Why aren't you 2 bastards coming to help? The Thousand Beast King roared as he attacked. At that moment, Tong Yi, the Lord of Black Fog City, and the Red-Browed Eagle King attacked at the same time. Chaotic rebellion. Ji Yufei used the 9 secrets of the Immortal Path again, and the 3 of them were in trouble again. The Lord of Black Mist City's cold light slashed at the Thousand Beast King, while the Thousand Beast King's terrifying beast shadow pounced on the Red-Eyebrowed Eagle King. The Red-Eyebrowed Eagle King's claws grabbed at the Lord of Black Mist City. How is this possible? What sorcery is this? The 3 godly kings were all shocked. At that moment, Ji Yufei attacked again. He directly sent the Red-Eyebrowed Eagle King flying with a palm, and kicked the Lord of Black Mist City's butt, sending him flying. When it came to the Thousand Beast King, Ji Yufei smashed his fist at the guy's face. The 3 of them attacked Ji Yufei with all their strength, but no one expected Ji Yufei to be able to divert their attacks. The Thousand Beast King blocked the Lord of Black Mist City's cold light sword, so Ji Yufei's punch couldn't be avoided. Ji Yufei's punch landed squarely on his face. The Thousand Beast King screamed as he was sent flying by Ji Yufei's punch. The Red-Eyebrowed Eagle King, the Lord of Black Mist City, and the others were all shocked to the extreme. How were they supposed to fight if the other party had such a secret technique? That's all you've got. How disappointing. Jiyu Fei didn't continue to attack. He coldly glanced at the three extremely embarrassed guys. What did you say? The Thousand Beast King was furious. His hair was disheveled, his face was covered in blood, and his nose had been smashed by Jiyu Fei's punch just now. I said you're trash, so what? Isn't that right? Jiyu Fei said domineeringly. You're courting death. The Thousand Beast King desperately activated the formation platform floating in the sky, and the power of the super formation was frantically guided by the formation platform. The ancient and mysterious runes on the formation platform lit up one after another, then rushed out of the formation platform, flew toward the Thousand Beast King, and directly imprinted on the Thousand Beast King's body. What is he playing at this time? Jiyu Fei watched curiously, but he didn't stop the Thousand Beast King from increasing his combat strength. At that moment, the Lord of Black Mist City and the Red-Eyebrowed Eagle King also roared repeatedly, at the same time activating the power of the formation platform. They used the same method as the Thousand Beast King. They also imprinted the formation patterns on the formation platform on their bodies. The next moment, a terrifying wave of Yuan Qi erupted from the bodies of the Thousand Beast King and the others, and their combat strength increased by a lot. Little guy, you're dead this time. The Thousand Beast King grinned and approached Jiyu Fei. The Beast King bone staff in his hand also emitted a demonic light, and the shadow of a dragon loomed on the bone staff. It was a dragon bone staff. No wonder it could control hundreds of beasts. Sigh. You're thinking too much. Jiyu Fei shook his head helplessly and said, Tempage, do you really think you can overturn the sky? The red-eyebrowed Eagle King's body was full of murderous intent, and he stared coldly at Jiyu Fei. At that moment, the power in his body was surging, and he would even dare to fight against the barbarian emperor. Obediently accept your death, and we'll leave your corpse intact. The Lord of Black Mist City was also extremely domineering. The powerful power borrowed from the super formation made them extremely confident. At that moment, Jiyu Fei suddenly laughed. Is this guy scared out of his wits? The Thousand Beast King said coldly. However, at that moment, the formation platform that was originally floating in the sky suddenly shook, and the shining runes on the formation platform dimmed. Then, under the shocked gazes of the Thousand Beast King and the others, the formation platform fell from the sky. What's going on? The Thousand Beast King and the others suddenly turned pale with fright. After all, this was what they relied on, and once they lost it, how could they be a match for Jiyu Fei? At that moment, only Jiyu Fei knew what had happened. Qiu Chenjian and the others had succeeded. Jiyu Fei had previously sent Qiu Chenjian, the Lunar Divine Fist Handong, the Blade King Luo Lai, and the Tree Demon King to destroy the Earth Veins. It seemed that he had guessed correctly. As long as the Earth Veins were destroyed, the super formation would collapse on its own. At that moment, the borrowed power from the Thousand Beast King, the Red-Eyebrowed Eagle King, and the Black Fog City Lord quickly disappeared, and the formation patterns that were branded on their bodies also disappeared. Run! The Red-Eyebrowed Eagle King, the Thousand Beast King, and the Black Fog City Lord immediately turned around and fled. What a joke! If they could not use the power of the super formation, how would they have the guts to fight against Jiyu Fei? If they did not escape, they would be waiting to be killed. Whether it was the Thousand Beast King, the Red-Eyebrowed Eagle King, or the Black Fog City Lord, none of them wanted to die. Can you escape? Chapter 49-41. Jiyu Fei had already sent One-Armed Sword King Qiu Chenjian, Great Yin Divine Fist Handong, Saber King Luo Lai, and the Tree Demon King. These four god kings had gone missing for a day and a night under Jiyu Fei's order. When they finally reappeared, Jiyu Fei knew that the matter was a success. In the barbarian emperor's camp, there was an array formation expert who had laid out a super grand array to envelop the barbarian emperor's birthplace. The super grand array required a huge amount of heaven and earth spiritual energy to operate, but where did the spiritual energy come from? Naturally, it came from the spiritual veins in the void and the earth. As long as the earth's spiritual veins were temporarily cut off, the super grand array's spiritual energy source would be cut off. Although it was only temporary, It was enough to affect the entire Super Grand Array. At this time, the Thousand Beast King and the others saw that the situation wasn't looking good and immediately turned tail to flee. But would they be able to escape? Boom! Ji Yufei moved, and a thunderous sonic boom resounded in the air. He flew at high speed in the void and caught up to the Thousand Beast King in the blink of an eye. His right hand grabbed forward, and his 5 fingers directly grabbed the Thousand Beast King's head. Don't kill me. The Thousand Beast King's shock was no small matter. Even if he couldn't borrow the Super Formation's power, he was still a mid-level God King realm expert. Ji Yufei actually managed to grab his head in one move. Isn't this guy too strong? Give me a reason. Ji Yufei said indifferently. I am willing to submit to you, and follow your orders. The Thousand Beast King's voice trembled as he spoke. He was afraid that if Ji Yufei released the energy in his right hand, he would die. Very good, I am in need of manpower. Ji Yufei nodded and said. Master, this lowly one is willing to go through water and tread on fire for master. The Thousand Beast King was pleasantly surprised. He didn't expect this fella to be so easily fooled. Anyway, I'm not afraid of you betraying me. I'll plant a forbidden technique on your body, and your life will be in my hands. Ji Yufei added. What? The Thousand Beast King was secretly rejoicing, but after hearing Ji Yufei's words, he immediately became dumbfounded. Extreme joy turns to sorrow. He thought that he could fool Ji Yufei, but who would have thought that the other party was even more ruthless and directly cast a forbidden technique on him. Ji Yufei formed a seal with his right hand and shot a rune into the Thousand Beast King's body. After Ji Yufei was done, he immediately chased after the red-browed Eagle King. At this time, the red-eyebrowed Eagle King and the master of Black Fog City had already disappeared. His divine telekinesis had already locked onto the red-browed Eagle King. He used the 8 desolate steps and displayed the fastest speed in the world. Soon, he saw the back of the red-browed Eagle King, who was fleeing for his life. What? How can he be so fast? When the red-browed Eagle King saw Ji Yufei chasing after it, it was scared half to death. Swoosh! A pair of wings suddenly stretched out from the red-browed Eagle King's back. In the next moment, the red-browed Eagle King flapped its wings and soared into the sky. Its speed instantly doubled. As the red-browed Eagle King fled for its life, the distance between it and Ji Yufei immediately widened. TSK. Ji Yufei then exerted his strength, and in the next moment, his speed more than doubled as well. The distance between the two of them was immediately shortened. This guy, the red-browed Eagle King, knew that it would be impossible for it to escape without expending some of its vitality. He made up his mind and bit the tip of his tongue. Then, his life chi and blood began to burn. A ball of blood-red light immediately enveloped him. Swoosh! The red-browed Eagle King turned into a ray of blood-red light and disappeared into the void. Its speed was extremely fast. Oh, you're still using this move? Ji Yufei was a little surprised. This guy was actually proficient in the blood-burning secret technique. By burning one's own chi and blood, one could stimulate one's body's potential. Ji Yufei also knew this secret technique. However, he would not use this secret technique. Once this secret technique was used, even if he could kill his opponent, he would also lose half his life. This was because this blood-burning secret technique burned the life of the person who used this secret technique. Although Ji Yufei did not know how to use this blood-burning secret technique, he still used the Heaven Ascension secret technique. As soon as the Heaven Ascension secret technique was used, Ji Yufei's speed instantly soared. He took a step forward and instantly disappeared into the void. Ji Yufei immediately caught up to the blood-red light that the red-browed Eagle King had turned into. Then, he stomped down on the blood-red light. The void trembled. The blood-red figure was directly stomped down from the sky by Ji Yufei's foot. Boom! With a loud sound, the blood-red figure fell from the sky and directly smashed onto the ground. You still want to escape in front of me? Ji Yufei descended from the sky and stomped on the ground again. Boom! Dust flew everywhere, and with a loud bang, a large hole appeared in the ground from Ji Yufei's stomp. The red-browed Eagle King disappeared without a trace. Can't even withstand a single blow. Ji Fei said disdainfully. Roar. At this moment, a deep roar came from the black hole on the ground. In the next moment, a figure rushed out from the black hole and directly pounced towards Ji Fei. Kill. The red-browed eagle king attacked Ji Fei like a madman. Scram. Ji Fei raised his leg and directly kicked this fellow away, directly smashing him into the forest. Swish. Ji Fei took a step forward and instantly arrived above the forest. In the next moment, the red-browed eagle king rushed out of the forest. His clothes were tattered and his body was covered in blood. There was even a trace of blood at the corner of his mouth. Why are you targeting me? The red-browed eagle king was so depressed that he almost vomited blood. Do you want to live or die? Ji Fei placed his hands behind his back and calmly looked at the red-browed eagle king opposite him. Nonsense. If I can live, who would want to die? The red-browed eagle king said angrily. Then you want to live. Fine, become my slave now, and I will let you live. Ji Fei did not waste his breath on this fellow. What did you say? The red-browed eagle king was shocked and angry. If you don't want to be my slave, then die. Ji Fei said as he was about to attack. Don't. The red-browed eagle king shouted. Ji Fei did not continue to attack. I am willing to submit. The red-browed eagle king lowered his head. He had no choice. If he did not, he would die. Since he could live, who would be willing to die? The red-browed eagle king was not such a stubborn person. Haha, good, very good. Ji Fei laughed and directly struck a forbidden technique into the red-browed eagle king's body. Now, your life is mine. I can decide whether you live or die. Ji Fei continued. The red-browed eagle king's face turned ashen. Ji Fei did not pay any more attention to this fellow. He wanted to chase after the Black Fog City Lord, but this fellow was very cunning and actually escaped back into Black Fog City. At this moment, Ji Fei's army and the red-browed eagle king's army stopped fighting. Ji Fei directly ordered the red-browed eagle king and the thousand beast king to lead their respective armies to Black Fog City.